Hello. It's us. It's you. We're here. Together. Why are we here? For another exciting week on You Can't Disappoint a Podcast, Argentina's number 5 television show podcast.
And I don't think we've kept that. I think we've been drastically falling since, but we're going to wear that badge proudly for the rest of our lives. Welcome to the show. You can officially support You Can't Disappoint a Podcast now on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the place to go to help us move this show forward, and there's all kinds of exclusive content, fun interaction, events with Steven and myself, and all types of ways to influence our show on a weekly basis. So please consider supporting us on Patreon.
If you want to get in on the action, make sure you email us your trivia, your MVP, and your funniest moments from that week's episode over to our email at can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com, and we will read it right here on the show.
We sure will, even if you beg us not to. Also, hang out with us on the socials every week off the podcast. You know, we're on Facebook and YouTube under our podcast title. You can also find us on Instagram at Can't Disappoint Podcast and Twitter, where we probably do the most of our jovial lollygaggery at You Can't Disappoint. So come hang out with us over there.
Yeah, make sure you you smash that like and subscribe button.
Give us that attention that we so desperately crave.
Yeah, throw us your hearts, your wallets, and a couple kisses here and there, and we'll keep on pushing out this baby of ours that we call You Can't Disappoint a Podcast.
If you love Jeff Winger so much, why did you conspire with me against him?
I don't know. I can't keep track of any of it anymore. I just keep teaming up with whoever suggests it.
Glad to hear you admit it.
In a world.
You've done that one before. No, again.
In the beginning.
Yeah, you've only got like 2 things. Hey guys, welcome to You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. The podcast that was once number 5 somewhere. Austria? Appalachia?
Not America.
Yeah, definitely not. Welcome to the show. It's another week. It's still 2021. The year is still... It is what it is, you know? It's not been the giant leap forward from 2020 exactly, has it?
No, but it's been better than
for
some
you?
of 2020. Well, that's fair. That's really fair. True enough. Fair. One man's
it could be
trash
worse.
is
It could
another
always
man's
be
oranges.
worse. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you? Well, I know you're in a bigger city, and I know you're not like exactly a frontline worker. Is there any discussion at all of when you would be allowed to get a vaccine?
I am. Chicago's issue is that just there's so many people, but they're moving right along. I have students that have gotten both already.
Wow. Are they older?
Yeah, or doctors and stuff.
My grandparents have had theirs.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. My grandma, I think, should be getting her first one soon if she hasn't already. But yeah, I'm a little ways down the line. It'll probably be towards the end of the year.
Yeah. Anyways, I was just curious. Welcome to the show, everyone. Presented to you. Who's our sponsor this week?
This week I want to thank. I had something. I want to thank the guys that make those knockoff wall chargers for when you lose your wall outlet to plug your USB cord into. Knockoff wall chargers. They come in light blue, pink, purple, off-brand white, and black.
Have you ever wanted a charger cable that works for 3.5 weeks? Knockoff wall chargers.
Do you like it when your phone charges half as fast as it would if you just plugged it into the computer? Off-brand wall chargers.
Knockoff wall chargers. Is your phone battery health deteriorating over time, or are we just taking it from you?
Knockoff wall chargers. Are you tired of your phone being a safe temperature when you hold it? Why not burn yourself a little?
It's great for this time of year. Do you want something to just keep you a little bit warmer while you're going through all the snow? Knockoff wall chargers. You'll have a 150-degree plank in your pocket at all times. Thanks for being a sponsor. Shout out, as always, to our proud papa at Communities on Twitter. Go follow him if you haven't. It was really fun. It's the length and dedication and lack of interest in it from the other side on that bit has been great. I love it.
The amount of like just disappointment in his eyes when we say that to him, it really. The problem is it's counterproductive for him because it just makes him feel like a real dad.
Yes. Yeah, my real dad doesn't want to be my dad either. It works just fine. We got to hang out with Matt from Communities on our Patreon all-day live stream last week, which was a crazy amount of fun. And that is implying that you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. It's the only place to get me and Steven's exclusive podcast. You Can't Dis a Pre-Show every week, and a little bit of something special every week. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kiss, kiss.
Kiss, kiss.
And to shout out, of course, now that our show is brought to you by our $10 and up patrons. Who are they, Steven?
Well, we've got a few people to shout out today. I want to shout out Justin Brummett. Thank you. I want to shout out Danny Martinez-Lugo. Thank you. And I want to thank my mom, Mary Baker Budisa. Thank you.
Did you say it right?
I hope.
Thanks very much, guys. We really appreciate it. The support means a lot. And if you would like your name read off at the start of this show, go become a $10 and up patron at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. And I think that's all the sellout stuff we got to do, isn't it?
Let's see. We thanked our sponsor.
Yeah.
We thanked our dad.
Yeah.
We thanked our patrons.
We thanked your mom.
Yeah.
I think we did it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Good show. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
This is what we are now.
Welcome to the show, of course. Hi, I'm Zach, and I've always dreamed of playing charades with you, but not like this, and not on land.
Hi, Zach. I'm Steven, but I've never seen that man in my life.
Another week. You Can't Disappoint a podcast. We're 9 episodes into season 2. We're like 2-ish months away from having done this for a year.
Woo.
Isn't that crazy? It's going to be over before we know it.
Our You Can Anniversary Appoint a podcast. Yeah, our Can't Disanniversary is coming up.
I don't know what, but we should do something to commemorate it.
Yeah.
I don't know what. Well, whatever. I'm glad to be back. I'm always glad to do this. You know, we talked about it on the Patreon exclusive over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast on the pre-show that the last time we spoke to each other was the live stream on Monday, and we did a lot of talking to each other for a long period of time. So there's no sense of like, you know, usually when we do this podcast, it's like at the beginning of a season of Community when the study group all sees each other for the first time after summer break. It's not like that right now. I feel like you live in this weird little box on the screen of my computer in my apartment. Does it feel that way to you?
That's not where you are?
I
was convinced that you were living and working from my computer. It feels like you're
the little like safety clip.
Little paperclip guy?
Paperclip guy, yeah.
I'm glad that's how we view each other.
This is what you're doing now?
It said, try again.
How are you doing? How have your 2 days been? What's the most exciting thing that happened to you in the last 2-day period? That you can talk about on the internet.
Well, that narrows it down. You know what? I had chicken and waffles for breakfast yesterday, and that shit was fire.
Okay.
Well, it's lunch. It was like
that's
1:45.
Perfectly fine. I will disappoint you though. I'm not a fan of chicken and waffles.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love chicken. I love waffles, and I know that you're one of those people that's like, mix anything with anything. I'm down for trying it, and I'll probably like it.
You're 100% true.
I don't consider myself a picky eater at all, but I do kind of have a wall with like mixing really salty stuff and really sweet stuff. Mm-hmm. I like your chocolate covered pretzels. I like I have things of that nature that I like, but I'm certainly not a chips and cereal man. Like my co-host.
For those who don't know, chips and cereal was something that I proudly co-created in college, and it's where you take some dry cereal and some potato chips and you put them in a bowl and just kind of mix them around.
You've talked about it honestly at least twice before right now on this podcast.
Well, in case somebody is new to the show.
Why is that the hill that you die on? I'm sure that people are new to the show, and it's that we don't want them to go back and learn the mistakes of our past.
It's
and
so
now they know
good,
this.
Zach.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That's not true. I believe that you
delicious.
like it, but I think there are things going on. There are chemicals in your brain that,
That have been altered to make me like them more.
That are making you like this. Whatever.
Possibility.
We're here to talk about season 2, episode 9. We're making our way through this. By the end of next month, we'll be halfway through season 2 already.
Can you
And
believe
early into season 3 is the halfway point of the series. So we're getting closer and closer to that. But we're talking about episode 9, Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design, directed by Adam Davidson, who previously directed Communication Studies, The Science of Illusion, and The Art of Discourse. And he goes on to direct Curriculum Unavailable and Digital Estate Planning. It was written by Chris McKenna, who is, there was a point in the series where I'm pretty sure he was Dan Harmon's direct writing partner. And
Wow.
And I think they've done a couple of things together, and he wrote 8 episodes of the course of the series. And it originally aired on November 18th, 2010. And before we move forward with any of the stuff that we're going to do, we're going to take a quick ad break. Friends, I truly believe that we're in the golden age of all media, not just television, but film, music, theater, art. We're just living in this time where there's so much quality content to dive into and so little time to do it. But me personally, to keep myself as entertained as possible, I've decided to throw out all that quality crap and rewatch the same shit from when I was a kid over and over and over again, and that's what I'm doing in my new Patreon exclusive podcast, Nerdstalgia. Each episode, a friend will join myself and my significant other Lil as we tackle another nostalgic piece of media from our childhood, from your childhood, from anyone's childhood, to see if it holds up to the cold light of reality. It's going to be a lot of fun revisiting all of the things that I've always loved so much, and I hope that you tune in and listen to it. The way to do that is by supporting You Can't Disappoint a Podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Head over there and check out the latest episode of Nerdstalgia now. Well, how was that, Steven? We managed to get a lot done in that ad break, didn't we?
Yeah, I did a couple puzzles.
Is that what
read
we're calling
a
it?
good book.
Is that what we're calling what we did? It certainly was a puzzle in a way. There was some figuring out and
in the
and
same way
rearranging
that
of pieces.
that the villain in Saw's name is Jigsaw. I think that's kind of. Have you ever seen the Saw movies?
No, I'm kind of. When I was younger, I was really averse to movies that were super gory, and now I could probably stomach it, but I have no interest in stuff that's just that for the sake of it.
Yeah, I thought the first one I've seen bits and pieces of at least the first 3 or 4, but I've only seen the first and second one all the way through. First one was fine. Second one was pretty sandy, so I just left it alone.
I feel like I could probably watch one, but yeah, there's so many of them, and I don't think I'm going to like it enough to watch 11 of them. It's kind of like the Fast and the Furious franchise. I've never seen any of them. Sure, maybe I'd enjoy bits and pieces of it, but I'm not going to watch 11 of the movies. And
There's no point in starting now.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about it. Yeah. But anyway, ad break. Money, money, money.
Give it to us, please.
Let's talk about the episode of Community that we watched this week, starting off with some act trivia. What flavor is it this week?
Strawberry banana swirl.
With potato chips crumbled inside.
Okay, that actually sounds kind of
Oh
good.
my God,
I'm not going to lie. I would actually eat it. How is that different than putting nuts in it?
It's... Potato and nut are not equal.
That's not what your mother said last night.
What?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Hi, Connie.
She is not listening.
She tuned into the live stream, though. That was cool.
For 2 seconds, but it was cool. Yeah. Thanks for showing up. So let's talk about this episode, Community. Let's talk about how close of attention we paid to it. I have 4 questions for you.
I do, too.
Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Why don't you go first?
All right. In Annie's diorama, what are all the animals wearing and why?
Cute little sunglasses because it's a brighter... Is it tomorrow or brighter future? Brighter tomorrow.
Yep, it was tomorrow.
I like that. I've got one for you.
I just do it for your gratification and your approval.
Well, good. What class does Professor Professorson say he is going to teach when grilled by Jeff and Annie?
Math.
You're right.
What kind of math? Math.
Math.
What chapters and of what book does Professor Professorson assign Jeff in the hallway after meeting Annie and the dean?
It's chapters 10 to 12 of Davies? Well,
Douglas. I believe
Douglas.
is what
Oh,
he said.
shoot. I was closer than I
But
thought
that
I
was
would
a
be.
valiant effort. I have the utmost feeling that we both paid really close attention to this episode this week.
I enjoyed it.
Because I certainly did. There was a lot to... Not that I don't always, but...
There are a lot of little things.
This one really held my attention. What you got?
What are the 3 rules of Fluffy Town, and what one did Leonard break?
Oh, man, well, he definitely broke the no farting rule. Because he had 3 strikes already, which, that's generous that he's there at all, Usually 3 would do it. I'm trying to think what the other rules were. I remember Abed saying it, but I don't know if I remember it.
Any guesses?
I don't think so.
No smoking, no farting,
Okay.
and no pillow fighting.
No pillow fighting. Okay. Who is the memorial tunnel in the blanket fort named after?
Oh, damn it.
Nothing. You got
I don't even
nothing,
have a
punk,
guess.
huh?
Nothing.
Pierce's mom. It was the Pierce's mom memorial tunnel.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was.
What is the name for the blanket fort self-destruct protocol?
Oh my god, I do not know that at all.
That would be
At all.
Protocol Omega.
Nice. And my last question for you, maybe we didn't pay any attention. My last question for you, would that this desk were a time desk so he could correct his past mistakes, what would Professor Professorson do?
Fight the dinosaurs. Ride a dinosaur. Ride a dinosaur.
Yes.
And
that word that you misplaced
who's he
hold
gonna
on to
fight?
that.
It wasn't the Nazis.
He was going to fight with
The
Jack
Viking.
the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. Oh, nice. Nice. Good question.
I was rooting for you.
Yeah. I liked that line, though. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. The dean at the end.
Yeah.
Would that this hoodie were a time hoodie? I love
where
that, man.
was the modern retelling of Macbeth set?
Gangland, Chicago.
Absolutely. Right outside my door.
Yeah, circa 2020.
There actually
Summer.
was, I was leaving work, must have been last Saturday, and somebody was, shot, right across the street.
Damn.
Yeah, I didn't hear it, but I got an update on my phone, and I saw, all the...
Could you tell it was gang activity because people were going, Jets.
That's exactly.
Jets.
Have you seen West Side Story?
No, but I'm looking forward to the remake of it. Do you know about the big
Whoa!
budget Hollywood remake? Yeah.
What?
It's directed by Steven Spielberg, and it stars Ansel Elgort.
I like both of those things a lot.
Yes, I think it could be quite good. I'm pretty sure Steven Spielberg... No, that's not true. I thought maybe he directed the original film, but that's not true. I think it's older than that.
I'm a big fan of the first movie.
I think I had to watch the movie for class, but I don't think I paid that close of attention other than
It's
maybe some
long.
of the songs.
Yeah.
But I'd be very excited to see a big budget Broadway adaptation or Hollywood adaptation
Hollywood.
of it.
Nice.
Let's do... Wait, do you have one more question?
I don't. That was all of them.
Okay. I like the way that was so plain. I
don't.
Well, then, did anyone send us any questions this week? Reach deep into your mail sack and jiggle
See if I got
it or
anything in my
jiggle that
pockets.
sack around and see if there's anything in there with postage, paid postage on it.
Crunching the numbers.
What?
Okay, found a few.
Yeah, I bet the letters are already caked in potato chip dust from your fingers.
That and cereal, it's a mess. All right, our first email
Yes.
is from Lil. Oh, hi there, Lil. Sup, fellers. You see that what I did there? Sup, fellers. Here's my trivia. 1. What is Abed's dorm number?
Nope.
626. I have no clue.
Isn't that the number experiment that Stitch is?
Yeah. Nice.
Thanks.
What is Wooly's favorite color? It's in the faculty directory, apparently.
Nope.
I can't read, so I don't know. Name a couple of classes that Wooly teaches in night school. I wanted to ask this question, but I didn't know enough to know if you were right if you had answered them. One was learning with an exclamation point.
Theoretical phys ed.
That's a great one.
Math 1, 2, 3. Because I definitely paused it and we looked at them, and Lil was like, "Good that you looked at that." Ha ha ha.
Records.
I could probably think of more, but we blew the criteria away. So what are we doing? We'll see in the episode.
Yeah, exactly. What district do the gang run through as a shortcut? The Turkish district.
Good job.
Mm-hmm. What parade halts their chase? That was the fantastic
Latvian Independence Day.
They had all the
parade.
right permits. Yeah. What is Dean Pelton's book called?
The Adventures of Dean Dangerous.
Yeah. Okay, it's a tough one. Who is cooler, them or Zach?
It's very clearly not me.
Yeah,
I can welcome that.
Probably
but
gonna be Lil.
On the other hand, though, my significant other isn't exactly like I very much admire them, but I don't know if my first go-to would be cool. But I definitely wouldn't say that about myself either. That's why I think we're very well suited.
You have an
for each
Oculus
other.
now, though.
That's true. I do have an Oculus. That's a good point, Steven.
But
I also have a podcast.
That's true, but they have a connection in a direct line to tacos, and that's pretty cool to me too.
What?
Tacos. I like tacos, and they sell tacos sometimes.
Oh, I was not making that same road that you were making. Sure, tacos are cool. Tacos are cool. They do give me free tacos sometimes. I can't do much better than that. How about shut up? It's my podcast.
Yeah, don't try and make this a thing. And you want to know why Zach is actually my answer? Because the 8th question says, I don't have an 8th question. I just like even numbers.
Oh, that's super lame. That's the lamest thing I've heard today in a good while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thanks,
yeah.
Lil. Thanks, Lil, for writing.
Thanks for making
in.
me feel better about myself.
Yeah, that's really, really kind of you to do that.
Yeah. They're literally 6 feet away from where I sit right now. It's weird.
With a cup
it's weird
pressed to
that
the
we're
door.
communicating like this.
Our next one, thanks, is from our very proud to be our dad.
Mm-hmm.
Hi guys, this is one of the better episodes of the season 2, and that is saying something. Absolute stellar first time episode by Megan. I don't have answers for all these. So
By
forgive
Megan.
me. Oh, the encyclopedia has a coffee stain on a page because.
Well, I'm almost 100% positive because I looked off of the Wikipedia page.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
she was co-writer or
good
something?
sir that. Well, I will say this. In the commentary, they definitely said that some of the main ideas for the episode came from Megan. So she might have been the antithesis of the idea behind the episode, and maybe that's why he is accrediting it to her, or misremembering that she actually wrote the episode. Because according to the very well-refuted source of Wikipedia.org, Conspiracy Theories and Interior Design was written by Chris McKenna.
Wow. Step it up. And that's a
and
shame.
just give us a hug every once in a while, too,
Yeah,
Dad.
please.
If that is your real name.
I don't have answers for all these, so forgive me. He always says that, but then he always has answers for all of them.
And literally the point is to not give us answers, so it's just like gravy that he ever does, and it's as if we'd ever be upset at him for any reason at all.
Come on, we admire you. You're our hero.
Just give us a hug, please.
Okay, name 3 classes listed for night school. We did that.
Been done. It's been done.
Name 3 names for the actor Kevin Corrigan.
Professor Professorson, Sean Garrity, and Wooly. It was like Wooley, I believe. I don't remember the first name.
I would also go with Professor
Berg. Before he wouldn't have been a professor then.
Well, and the next question.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
The
show's canceled.
Do you know why they have a Latvian Independence Parade?
Well, they have all the right permits, and I think they said on the commentary that it was like when they were filming the episode, it was like Latvian Independence Day or something like that.
You're right.
So that
he says the reason they have the Independence Parade is because the episode aired on the anniversary of Latvian independence. Congrats, guys. For all our Latvian viewers out there,
nobody's doing shit.
Catch you later. All right, and our third email is from Danny. Hi, guys.
What's
Hope
up?
y'all are doing so well. I get so
Doing great.
excited rewatching all of these amazing Season 2 episodes.
I know. Man, is the show on fire right now.
It's killing it. It's killing it. And I loved hearing your take on cooperative calligraphy. Can't wait for this one. Then they say, they laughed pretty hard at a ton of things, so it's hard to pick one specific funny moment, but her favorite moment to watch and totally went back to see it again was the chase through the blanket fort. So good. Her MVP goes to the Dean because she thinks Jim Rash totally committed to the character and story and went all out every time he had a moment. Great
Well
Dean
said.
episode. Great Dean episode. And then they have some questions. Where is the Starbucks barista that the Dean talks about from? I think it's Venezuela, right?
Persian.
The
Persian
You're
barista. will ask
That
about
line
my
made me
novel.
laugh
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah. As a former Starbucks barista, and definitely people who would be like there to work on something but are like fishing to talk about what they're working on, that's definitely a real thing.
Yeah. There's a big yellow sign by Abed's dorm about a mixer. Where is the mixer taking place?
I don't know.
No clue. What course does the faculty directory say that Professor Woolley teaches?
I don't know.
It's Jeff mentions it. It's like
Yeah.
the one that's like intro to learning. It's not intro to learning. Is it that? It might be that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or intro to... No, it wouldn't be, I guess, because it's learning.
It's just
is
learning.
different-
Yeah.
I don't know.
What classes does Jeff read out loud from the night class schedule? We've been there. We've done that. We know them all.
Sure.
Yeah, like the back of our hand.
Yeah, like the back of my Chang.
What kind of food is the study group eating when they're all together in the blanket fort? Was it sandwiches?
They're all eating hamburgers and fries, and fun fact about that later.
Oh. I'm super excited for all the extra fun things y'all are doing, and I hope
Me too.
everyone signs up to support you. Much love, Danny. Thank you, Danny. On that
Much
note,
love right back at you.
if you want us to love you as much as we love the people that give us money, give us money. You can do that at patreon.com/CandacePointPodcast.
Yes, you sure can. There are tiers starting at $5. They get you all the exclusive content we put out. There's nothing like that we're putting up to a higher pay grade. And then all of the other tiers are ways to interact with us, to get things from us, to hang out with us, to affect the show, to have your name read out. So go throw us a couple bucks. What do you got to lose?
Come on. Your
And
kids
thanks to
don't need
everyone
diapers
who,
that bad.
Emailed us. Are there more questions?
No, that's all of them.
Well, great. That was great. We got very few questions right. I started really confident, and then I quickly realized, oh no, people are always paying more attention than we are.
Well, this is one of those episodes that there's so much going on in the foreground and background that it's
You're
like
right.
you can't catch everything unless you
And
watch it 100 times.
There's definitely an A plot and a B plot, but both of the plots have so much going for them visually and contextually, I suppose. But yeah, that's great. Let's move on to the next part, one of my favorite segments. And boy,
This is gonna
if
be
I thought
tough
you had a
today.
challenge last week, you've got a challenge this time, because this episode's stuffed. And for you to get the best grade, you'd have to really get just about every single twist that occurs in the episode, which is next to impossible. But how do you feel? Do you feel maybe at all prepared for this?
Oh no, not
Okay,
it.
well, let's see how this goes.
I'm gonna be lucky if I get half of the B plot.
It's time once again to open up an ear and an eye to find out, did Steven watch the episode this week? I'm going to give you the count of 3 and on go, because you gave me shit during the live stream for starting something on 5. What did I say?
said
like countdown
0.
from 5 and whatever. I'm going to say 3, 2, 1 or 1, 2, 3. I don't know. How do I do it? You tell me how to
3,
do
2,
it.
1, go.
Okay. I'm going to do that, and then you'll have 20 seconds. Are you ready?
I am ready,
Are you really?
as I'm gonna be.
3, 2, 1, go.
So Jeff's taking a conspiracy theories class, or is he? Abed and Trey are going to have a sleepover, and that escalates into an awesome blanket fort thing. It gets really, really big. Everybody's involved in it. There's lots of rules, though. Don't fart. And then Jeff's teacher is fake, but he's real. But what is he? Then they have to find out. What's he teaching all these fake classes for? And the dean is behind it all. Or is he? Is it Annie? Is it Jeff? If it's conspiracy, everything's a conspiracy. They're all together. And the teacher, he's teaching all these classes with them.
You know, you did about the best job you could of definitely not trying to get every single beat, but encompassing the entirety of the episode.
I did better than I thought I would.
Points for that. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't think you've earned the B+ from last week, but I think it's a B.
Thank you.
I think it's
I was hoping that would get me at least a B-.
Yeah, you've done well, kid.
I really simplified the blanket
You've done
fort
well,
stuff,
champ.
but I tried.
You know, let's talk now about our favorite funny moment from the episode.
Yeah.
I watched the episode once last night and twice today before we started recording. And for whatever reason, last night, it just really got me in a laughing fit, like, throughout the episode. I think last night, watching this episode, I laughed harder than I've laughed at any of the episodes of Community that we've watched so far, I think. So that was really fun for me. But what about you? What was the funniest moment for you?
There were a lot, and as much as like I want to choose like the whole standoff shootout at the end, because that's just so funny.
It is very funny.
Somebody like standing up, because it's I'm gonna pick
So ridiculous.
2 moments that I think are really made me laugh, but because I didn't expect them to make me laugh so hard. The first one is at the very beginning when Abed like claps for Annie's diorama, and he's so excited about it.
Yeah.
That made me laugh because he's so sweet, but it was like so funny that he's like, because it's a brighter tomorrow. Like he's like all on board, and I thought that was really, really cute and funny. And the other one was really the whole like chase scene through the blanket fort, but especially when the parade came out, because it's so unexpected, but like totally on brand for what's going on.
Sure. Well, then a specific moment for me, I think, and this is a really specific like second, is when the car explodes on the diorama, but not the first or second time. The last one, when it zooms in on it, it waits an extra beat, and then it blows up in slow-mo, but just barely. It doesn't blow up at all. Like, there's a couple sparks, and Jeff's just so intensely... Yeah, that's a really good moment for me.
I also think that, off the top of my head, at least so far, my favorite Dean entrance was in this episode where...
Hello!
Yeah, who would want to sit around in
with boys in underoos or something like that.
Hello!
Yeah, that's a perfect moment.
And Jeff like gives just like a little like face thing.
It totally encapsulates something that one of the highlights of our live stream was having a lively conversation with Alex Webster about season 4 and what doesn't quite work about it, and how the Dean is a really telling example of what doesn't work about it, and how they totally take away any there's no... It makes it very clear what type of person the Dean is.
Yeah,
there's
no
like...
ambiguity.
Yeah, that's the word I was searching for. And this episode in that moment had all of the ambiguity, and it was really, really great. I think we've done all the stuff. Are you ready to dive into it?
I am so excited.
Yeah, what did you think?
I really enjoyed this episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything I like didn't like. I don't think there is. I mean, because even, and we'll talk about it when we get to those moments, but something that doesn't normally work for me was done in a funny enough way in this episode that it almost
Are you talking about like the Jeff and Annie stuff?
Yeah.
I have a feeling that in this episode, this is one of those times where, you know, the fans would really gif and hold close to them those moments, those glances.
Yeah.
But in the context of the episode, they're very small, and I think they're a little bit of a reach, other than a little bit of they're attracted to each other.
Yeah.
I don't think, we'll unpack it as we get along into it. I think this is a fantastic episode of Community. It's just another height that it's reaching, like they've been reaching all season. But like they do and continue to do, it's a different height than they've done before.
Yeah.
And it's a different height than what you expect out of a show like this, or what you think you want out of a show like this. And then they do something like this, and it just works so well from beginning to end, and it's super funny. and I'm really excited to dig into it. I have very few bad things to say about this episode, and I think it's going to be a fun one to track our way through it and see how it all builds, kind of like how Cooperative Calligraphy did.
Yeah.
So let's see. I really like the shot that it opens up with, that gives out right away that this is going to be kind of a different type of episode, that shot of Jeff's course schedule printing out. And in the commentary right off the top, Jim Rash said something about how like there was a crew person who was underneath this pushing the thing through. They weren't actually printing anything. I thought
That's
that was
amazing.
Well, I felt as if you were about to say something.
Well, I was gonna say I like, we normally get the shot of the outside of Greendale or like some sort of like scenery,
the full
shot.
cafeteria.
Yeah, and this is just like you said, it sets a different
right
kind
into
of tone.
the action. Mm-hmm. And the funny lines start off right away in this episode with the whole like, clear my schedule. I've got something to do. And like, what schedule? You're not doing anything. Just wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking.
Immediately, the dean's presence is a central part of this episode.
Yeah.
And Jim Rash, not that he doesn't always just commit to whatever he's doing. There have been several other episodes this season that have been like that. But in this episode, he really commits in a way that he hadn't before, and in a way that really only Jim Rash can. That's super funny. I'm thankful for every little like millisecond of screen time the Dean gets in this episode.
Yeah, it's just so good.
Is this episode the most central the Dean has been in a plotline?
Yes, I think the only other times that he's been that featured were maybe the season finale of season 1, and even then he's not the main focus.
This is definitely more than that,
yeah,
I believe.
And
yeah,
I think other than that, epidemiology was the most, so he's definitely not.
Of the A plot, there's really only maybe one Jeff and Annie scene, and then the Pillow Fort chase that the Dean's not a part of. He's pretty much around for, well, I guess there's a couple, but he's around for the majority of that storyline. Now we're in the study room just instantly. There was just a little like sting, a little tease in the beginning of the episode of what the plotline's going to be. But we're looking at this diorama that definitely Annie's made all by herself, and none of the study group helped. And this is definitely one of those things that's very TV show, that nobody, even someone as dedicated and intelligent and capable as Annie, nobody would ever do this.
That's
nobody
huge.
would ever do this. It's
Where would you
huge.
even do that? How would you move it?
Yes. Well, it's on a cart.
Nonsense.
Because later they go to push it, but it just the key mechanism, the wheel, the track, it's very unrealistic, but it's cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely cool, and it's all to celebrate alternative energy. The key, as she turns a key to a brighter tomorrow, and the little car drives along the street. Really, the only reason for this big elaborate diorama is the hilarious bit with it that comes up a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it sure does look interesting. I like how it fades from darker life to lighter life, and it goes from like skeletons and buildings on fire to all of the animals with sunglasses. Does even the butterfly have sunglasses? I can't tell.
I can't tell. That'd be really funny.
As always, the prop department just totally knocks it out. And Abed, you're right. He's so on board with it from the beginning. I think the other study group members are like, wow, you went really far this time, Annie. And Abed's like, you nailed it. You killed it. Yeah,
like, that's amazing. Sweet. And I love just the shot of Abed just clapping by himself. He's
Abed
so pleased.
Claps. He looks over at Britta to be like, this is good. One thing I noticed in this episode is that Shirley, Pierce, and Britta are practically not in this episode. They're here and they show up a couple of small times, but this is the most on the sidelines all of those characters have been, I think, even Shirley.
Yeah, in all honesty, I kind of forgot that Shirley and Pierce were even in, I remembered this line from Shirley, but I forgot Pierce was in it.
He's really not.
I don't think he says a word, does he? Until maybe the end.
You might be right. I don't know. He's here and he's in the end, and I think that's about it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because this is an A story that's so encompassing, and the second one was too. But I suppose they could have fit the characters into those somehow.
Yeah. I think we'll talk more about the B story a little later, but I think the reason why the B story kind of... because I really like this episode, but I like the A plot so much more just because I know where the B story kind of evolves to.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen for a longer period of time than you think, probably. That's not till season 3.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
This just kind of builds the anchor that rests on, that they're really into building these forts, and other people can get involved with them too to make them these huge structures. And yeah, it doesn't come up. Maybe it comes up again, but they don't do it that way until season 3.
And that's crazy. That's the B plot. Like, that could easily be an A plot for an episode, but
and clearly that's what they thought, because then later on, I think it's the main plot of 2 episodes back to back in season 3.
Oh wow, yeah.
But yeah, I thought a lot of the study group members were kind of put to the sidelines, and I hate it when shows do that, especially this show. They've got such a talented cast that's so expansive that they could have fit them in there somewhere. And they're talking about dioramas, and that's kind of a running theme of the season, that Duncan is always making them do more ridiculous dioramas. Someone made a diorama about a world without dioramas. Very silly, very community. Did you ever have to make a diorama in school?
One time.
What was it of? I don't think I ever had to.
The thing, I don't even think it was like a real diorama. I think it was like a Valentine's Day box that we were supposed to make.
Yeah, that's not the same.
But it was the closest I ever got, and I think mine had like King Kong or some shit on it, and like Godzilla.
I remember doing one when I was at the private Christian school that I went to as a child, and I covered it in like Simpsons cartoons.
You know what? I did have to make one. We had to make a diorama of a cell, of which mitochondria is the
like
powerhouse.
A jail cell?
No.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. An animal cell. And I remember I like used a watermelon, and my mom did a lot of the work. Yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, because
I mean, don't they always with stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I'm a fucking kid. How am I supposed to be a damn science/art/
Yeah, the projects like that
major?
are kind of dumb unless it's like a group project in high school, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it really is like, what do? I don't know how to do this. And then your parents are like, I don't know how to do this. And then they're like, but I guess I'll figure out a way to put this together.
Yeah. And then your mom ends up till 4 a.m. like putting together this project. And then you're like, you bring it to school and you're like, here, teacher. And they're like, this is adequate.
I definitely feel like I remember times where it'd be a situation like that where my parents spent way too much time working on it. And I'd like wake up the next morning ready for school, as energized as ever. And they'd be like, how did you do this to me? Like, I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
Troy and Abed set up that they have a storyline right away that Troy is going to stay over at Abed's place. And it always feels weird and out of place whenever they bring up that Abed lives in a dorm room on Greendale's campus.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like Greendale should have dorms, does it?
No.
Anyway, they're both done early in the day with all the stuff they have to get done, so they start their slumber party early, and they decide that they want to build a blanket fort, which Britta kind of schools them on and calls them immature. That's one of the only things Britta says in this episode. Mm-hmm. She has a little sting later on in the episode that's very funny, but that's about all. Yeah. She's going to do something more grown up to do, and then Troy has a funny line about eating fiber and watching The Mentalist. I think more my go-to old people show would be like Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, and I love Murder, She Wrote, but definitely.
I've never seen an episode.
That Matlock also, not to come at my mom aggressively, but yeah.
She really likes Matlock.
I think
there's a new, isn't there a current Matlock?
Is there?
I think they might have rebooted Matlock.
I wouldn't be opposed to watching that because I thought Matlock was a good show.
Yeah, but never when they do something like that is it good.
True. Because they try and like make it edgy. And shows just weren't edgy.
Yep, next we get the best entrance of the episode and probably of the series. Who wants to hang out with grown men in tiny underoos? In walks Dean Pelton. Hello! So Jeffrey. And right away, just a minute into the episode, they have to dive into the storyline because it goes so many places in the 20 minutes that this episode has.
Yeah.
And the dean was looking at Jeff's class schedule, and the dean's explanation for why is so funny. Maybe it was a random spot check. Maybe it was a specific spot check. Maybe I'm making a scrapbook. All I'm saying. So Jeff, in very Jeff Winger fashion, has made up a fake class and a fake professor to the point where it's managed to get on his course schedule. He's like conning the school out of a credit. You shake your head in dismay, but I think this is way better of a Jeff using his smarmy lawyer skills to get by easily.
I love it.
It's still, I still like the version of Jeff we've been seeing this season, leaps and bounds ahead of what I did the first half of season one. Even the second half of season
one. And what's funny is this is absolutely, probably something that Jeff did early on, right? Obviously, it was at the beginning of the semester or something like that. And now Jeff has grown. He's a better person. But, like, if
he's also learned how to do it better.
Oh, yeah. If I had this gig going, I absolutely would do it. At Greendale, where they teach nonsense classes, I'd give it a go.
Yeah, you're so right. It's an independent study that he's put together on conspiracy theories in U.S. history.
Which is much too real sounding a class to be at Greendale, honestly.
Well, yeah, and I don't think they would teach a class on conspiracy theories like that, because at a point, are you just spreading conspiracy theories? But that'd be kind of a fun thing to dive into and learn about. I would take a class like that.
Yeah.
This is a good catch of the dean, and I'm glad they gave him an excuse like he was just eyeballing what Jeff was doing all day. But it's a good catch for him that he notices that at all. That seems above what the dean would normally be batting at, you know? And the dean brings up that the class doesn't exist, which... and that it has a professor named Professor Professorson. And Jeff goes right into a classic garb of him covering for this. You know, he's giving off the explanations that he's probably had in the back of his head since he started doing this, if he's ever called out on it.
Yeah.
And I love in so many ways the way that this episode builds and expands the storyline. The way it starts as Jeff, trying to cover his ass, and the way it grows into something very real, but something very real that had to be so pre-planned before this. The way that it builds is really, really funny.
You know, it's almost like how real conspiracy theories work, right? Somebody says something crazy and somebody's like, oh, I can rock with that. Let's run with that.
You're right. Yeah.
And next thing you know, everybody's a lizard person.
Like, I don't know the name of the woman. I don't want to give her the too much credit, but the congresswoman who's been in the news a lot lately, I think her name might actually be Marjorie. But she is a QAnon supporter, and she believed something about how the California wildfires were either started or stopped by Jewish space lasers. And she's a U.S. congresswoman.
That's outrageous. My favorite conspiracy theory, and the only one that I like to play along with, is the one that birds aren't real. I think that one's really funny.
I think I'm pretty sure that's a satirical conspiracy theory.
But the problem is, Zach, is that people make it a joke and then people take it seriously.
But the website and stuff, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be satirical. It's kind of like a flying spaghetti monster religion type thing. But I'm down for that one too, because think about it. Birds? Come on.
Why are they always on the
just
wires?
Flying around? Yeah. Come on.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah. They're always.
Wings?
Why are they always nesting outside of my house?
Yeah. Wait, do
so
you
they
ever
can
see
listen
them?
In on everything.
There's not enough nests for all these birds.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a bird penis? Yeah, so they're talking about this fake class. It's very obviously a classic Jeff Winger mess around, and the dean's like, now I've got a mess of work because of this, so bye-bye weekends. And this is the first time he brings up the Persian Starbucks barista in his novel about time travel and Dean Dangerous. I like that even in his book about himself, he's a dean.
Right. He truly loves being a dean.
And I think one of the best rug pulls in this episode is that Annie was in on it from the beginning and putting this together with the dean against Jeff from the beginning. Because then, like I just said, I'm going to say a lot of things this podcast that are then counteracted by how the episode turns out. Because I gave the dean credit for finding Jeff's class schedule. He had nothing to do with that. He teamed up with Annie, who's trying to teach Jeff a lesson on blowing up classes. And that's really funny, and it's really well thought out. And watching this episode every time, I always forget that Annie was in on it, and it really seems like she's just being Annie, and she just gets hyper invested in anything she does.
This is probably my favorite Annie episode so far.
That's interesting that you say that, and this is going to make a lot of people mad, and I'm sorry about it. But there was a point when we were watching this episode where Lil and I turned to each other, and we're kind of both like, I don't think I like Annie that much.
Wow. My mom is cheering.
I don't think I like Annie that much. And it's not Alison Brie's fault. Alison Brie is charming as ever, and she plays off the character very, very well. And this episode does have some good character moments. We'll get to one pretty soon. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. And maybe it's because there have been a string of episodes recently that something becomes a bigger problem than it should have because Annie can't let something go.
That's true. That's very true.
This is literally the second episode in a row where that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But let's keep looking at it. Well, let's see how I feel about it as we go off of this. I like how Annie is inserting herself into this conversation, and now that you look at it from the angle of she knows everything that's going on, you can kind of see that well, come on, Jeff, it's one thing to blow off regular classes, but this devalues all the other, that she's been like planning this, thinking about this. She knew exactly what she was going to say. And Jeff, the way that he spins this yarn of meeting with the professor in his office, come on, let's go meet him. The dean says, well, let's go meet this guy. Prove it. Professorson, that can't be real. You're going to commit to this. It's really funny. And I don't know what, much like later on when Professorson says that he teaches math and that you can sit in on his class, it's like, what is he expecting to happen, Jeff, here? Because Jeff he leads them out of the study room, and Annie, of course, tags along because she's part of putting this all together. She's got to make sure that everything goes according to plan. And right there we get the theme song. But it's just, man, what does Jeff think's going to happen?
What I think he picks Jeff is on
door.
Here is he's like,
I'm
going to commit.
The conspiracy theory thing already.
Yeah.
How when he gets there, he says, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. He's like...
But also, Jeff isn't going to back down from this lie no matter what. He has spent time doing this. He forged a whole document. He's going to see this through to the end.
You're right. You're right, okay? You're right. Theme song plays, full theme song, always a good time.
Yeah.
Love the theme song. But this is one of those episodes where I'm in the story. I want to see what happens next.
I know. It's a very well-crafted episode, for sure.
And this is one of those episodes, and I can totally see why, where apparently the writer's room was so tied in a knot over the episode of figuring out how to... Like, the idea of the story was that Professorson was made up by Jeff, and he ends up being real, and Jeff's like, I've never seen this guy in my life, and that there were going to be twists. That was like the pitch for the episode, Then you have to go in the writer's room and be like, how do we turn this into a story with a beginning, middle, and end, and how does it end up, and what are the twists, and how does it go out? So this was one of those episodes where they were still coming up with how it was all going to work out up to when they were filming it. That entire bit in the end of the episode where they're having the shootout in the study room, they got that script on the day they showed up to work to film it.
And I think that is such a greatly acted
Such a well-written and acted, and it's a big standoff scene. And to be an actor who can just be handed that and play it off so well, they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
After the theme song, now we cut off. After the theme song, now we get into Troy and Abed's story for the episode. They've built a modest but already imaginative pillow and blanket for it.
Yeah, that's pretty
solid. Is
solid.
this something that you would ever do?
It was. When I was at my grandma's house, we'd take 2 to 4 of her like kitchen chairs and line them up in kind of like a square formation and cover it with blankets, and then we'd like sometimes drink hot chocolate and like turn on our fireplace and stuff. Yeah, it was really nice.
That's so sweet. I don't think I had the ingenuity to put them together. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever really did. But I think I was always like, that seems cool.
Yeah.
I bet that'd
be
cool.
We should do it sometime.
We should. But I think we would have a very similar reaction to how Troy and Abed at first. When they're sitting down in it, they're like, wow, this was a cool idea. It was cool to build it. What do we do now? This is a little cramped and small. And one of my favorite moments of this entire plot line is right here, how they have the conversation about, like, this is kind of lame. This isn't what I expected. Maybe we can make it a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And instead of, like going too deep into that, they just start beatboxing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really funny, wholesome moment where they're like, man, this kind of sucks. But then no, they can't. Their imagination and their friendship and their like sense of wonder can't be killed. It's a very wholesome moment.
Because it definitely makes you feel like they're going to be like, oh, Britta was right. We're too big for this. Like, let's do something else. But they're like, well, let's just make it man-sized. Boom. Mm-hmm. Solved. And I love that.
It's not often on this show that something happens on screen that doesn't feel 100% put like just about every line in this show feels like a room of 12 people were arguing over the very best version of that line. You know what I mean? This feels like just like an off the cuff like moment between these friends in a way that we don't see very often on the show, even though we see all kinds of things that show how great Troy and Abed's relationship is with each other. But that's a moment that I just think is really cute and wholesome, and it just works.
So nice.
I think. And then I like how while they're beatboxing, you start seeing their heads bob around in the thing as they start building it. And now we're to the hallway. Jeff has led them to the door of Professor Professorson's office. And of course, when he opens it, it's a storage unit. And there's a really nice little moment there. When he goes to open the door, Annie looks a little concerned, as if like, oh, is he going to open the door and it is real and I've put all this together for no reason? But then once he opens it, she gave another look like, oh, come on, Jeff. This is nothing.
Well, and Jeff still is fully committed because he opened it and like didn't look like, behold, behind me, this room. And he's like, oh, what?
Yeah, but he's still like scrambling a little bit. I don't think he was expecting it to be a supply closet. I think he was hoping it would be a classroom. And he comes up with, oh, this is a conspiracy. It runs deep. I've been here every day with Professor Professorson learning in this classroom, and now it's not here. And both Annie and the dean are like, come on, guy. Come on, bro. But he's like, this is a conspiracy theory. It's a test. He's testing me. This is my assignment. And it's definitely, I don't know how much longer Jeff could drag this out. You know, where do you think he would go with this after this if Professor, in quotations, Professorson hadn't shown up, you know?
I think Jeff would go so far as to print missing persons sheets and put them around the school, hand them out.
That's really
start
funny.
A whole, like, search
has
for
anyone
it.
seen Professor Professorson?
I absolutely,
have someone
like,
draw a
he
picture
knew
of
too
him.
much.
He's like, yeah, he's got like a chin and like some nose features. And
Right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and Annie totally is like, no, Jeff, you're just making us all look stupid. That's what you think of other people. You think you're so higher above.
It's okay. I'll take over. And he's like, Jeff, you think we stupid?
Wait,
you
what?
think I'm dumb?
Oh, you lost
You think
me.
I
Is
don't
that what
notice? I notice. I know who you are. I know who I am.
Oh, no.
Hi, you're back?
Yeah, are we here?
Yeah.
Are we here? Maybe I'll keep what we just did. Maybe I won't. I heard a little bit of what you were doing. But regardless, can you hear me okay?
Oh, no. Is this me this time? What's going on?
You can't hear me? Oh, my God.
No, I'm okay. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Now he's frozen.
The trunk people, they gotta get married.
The trunk people. Paid for
Do I
by
have my Wi-Fi on?
trunk
My
people.
phone? I don't.
Oh, no, Steven.
Says
I
my
can't
internet's
believe
okay.
we've done this. I pay for really
Am I using too
expensive,
much
good
bandwidth
Wi-Fi, and
with
it's
my
never
11
like
open
that.
windows?
Are you with me?
I'll close some of these.
Hello?
Just for you, Zach.
Hello? Can I get you back, buddy?
Oh my God.
There he is. Annie just thinks Jeff thinks they're all so stupid, and honestly, he kind of does. That's kind of exactly what's happening. It's that,
Yeah.
and I think we all do this sometimes, where we think we can get away with something, and maybe we can, and maybe we are smarter than the room, but it can become this thing where if it happens a couple of times, you think that it can happen
you do it
anytime,
forever.
and at a point, like, how stupid do you think people are? You
Yeah.
know? I've definitely been caught in stuff like that. I don't know if you have.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the dean is chastising him, and he never turns on Jeffrey like this. It's a hardened side of this man, but God, I love the dean so much. What a good man. And now we get the introduction of Professor Professorson, played by Kevin Corrigan, who was on, I think the show was Grounded for Life.
Is that what it was?
He was also in Goodfellas.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. And I love, so there are so many layers to this character that we'll go through as they come. So right now we're going to take it as presented. So this is Professor Professorson. And when he's being Professor Professorson right here, he has some like facial tics and oddities in his performance here that I think are really funny. You know, he starts giving the speech and being really mysterious and talking to Jeff. And I notice here that the dean is talking to Professor Professorson, and Annie is like looking at the dean to see if he's saying anything stupid, and looking at the other guy she's like puppet mastering all of this, and it's fun to watch it through that lens.
Yeah.
But his face here when he says, "I'm Professor Professorson," And
which
he
she
like
probably thought
blinks
that
his
Jeff-
eyes weird and makes a weird face here. And then Jeff doesn't skip a beat, even though here in a few moments we're gonna learn that he has no idea who this guy is. He's like, oh, my ass is getting saved, so I'll take whatever's being thrown. What were you about to say?
I was going to say that you see, like, once Jeff starts kind of rolling with it, Annie looks at him, because I'm sure she expected him to be like,
who is this guy?
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe this was about where Annie's plan ended, but it couldn't because it goes so much deeper with the night school stuff. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. An actual conspiracy to round out Jeff's education. he totally backs up the stuff that Jeff said. And we get the line here, the dean's like, Professorson is your name. He's like, well, it was Professor Berg, but we changed it when we were fleeing from the Nazis. Which is also very funny. How old is this man?
Right?
Was it more recent? And he has an even better explanation that the dean hasn't heard of him because he's a night school teacher. The dean's never around at night. We've never heard any talk about night school. No. And he has a student or a professor ID with his name and photo on it. So it looks very
Professor
real.
P. Professorson.
Yep. The dean says TV's gotten crazy good, so he's never around at night to meet any of those people. He assigns Jeff 10 through 12 of Douglas, and that they'll see him next week. And he leaves after saying, that is, if I still exist, which is very conspiracy theory professor.
Yeah.
The actor who plays this character does such a good job because he's playing this character through being the drama teacher, being the other guy, being Professor Professorson. And you can see in his performance that he's being a guy that's acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he does a really, really, really good job.
It's really good.
One of the better guest appearances of the show yet, I think.
I think so. And I think once you know everything, you can really tell like all the layers that he has on top of it.
Yeah.
And it's just great. Because he
conveys very
that,
Iron Man
cool.
3.
Yeah, very
right?
Iron Man 3. Yeah.
Right?
I'm just a dude dressed
if
as a dude.
I still exist.
Pretend to be another dude.
See you, Professor, and Jeff's laughing and smiling. The dean says, sorry to doubt you. You can tell that Annie's a little bit uncomfortable with where this has gone. Watching it for the first time, you just think she's uncomfortable because she was hoping to catch Jeff on something, and now she's lost. But now she feels like this thing that she all put together to catch Jeff on a lie hasn't worked. And the dean says, I'll get rid of this audit and back to working on my novel. I got the novel wrong. Mm-hmm. Because it's Time Desk, the Chronicles of Dean Dangerous, which is why later on, when the professor says this desk were a time desk, man.
It's a giveaway.
Sorry, Lil. So the dean walks away to work on his book, and there's a pretty classic Jeff line here. That's going to be the worst book I'll ever read cover to cover.
Which I know we can both appreciate because we both can appreciate just like a train
Something
wreck
bad.
of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love bad movies. Sometimes... You know, even a bad movie is usually at least made competently or has a few good things going for it. For a movie to truly be terrible, it has to get so many things that run like a machine wrong.
Yeah.
And it has, you know what I mean? Like, for something to truly, truly be terrible, it's like a symphony of things working together terribly to make this product that transcends its badness into something phenomenal. Like obviously the best example is The Room.
Yeah.
Because how did that get made? How did this guy write it? How did he make it happen?
Poorly?
And how did it get made so poorly and so expensively? And then watching whatever that would be as a movie that actually exists is something.
Yeah.
We should do some type of Patreon podcast. It's like a deep dive on The Room.
We absolutely should.
Yeah.
Because like I like watching like bad sci-fi movies too because they're just bad all around, but they're so bad that they're enjoyable. For me to not enjoy a movie, it has to like not have an excuse for being bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like
it can't be like, oh well, I mean, it's the movie that's based on the board game Battleship. What do you expect?
Yeah. What do you expect?
But when it's a movie that, like, an example, honestly, is the Happy Time Murders, the puppet movie that Melissa McCarthy and Joel McHale was in, because honestly, that movie wasn't going to be amazing, but it could be a little funny and earn a lot of brownie points just off of being funny and silly and entertaining, and then it wasn't, and it just and it's very rare that one of those transcending bad movies is a Hollywood one. It's usually something more independent. You need to learn about a movie called The Fanatic.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
It's a recent movie starring John Travolta and written and directed by the lead singer of Limp Bizkit. And he plays this guy who's like on the edges of society, who's this like weirdo incel kind of guy. John Travolta, 60-year-old John Travolta, who's like obsessed with this movie star, and he like follows him around and gets really creepy. But the plot doesn't matter. It's so ridiculous. Both the very first line that John Travolta utters in this drama film is he walks into a door, his buddy starts talking, and he says, "Can't talk, gotta poo." And he or can't stay
no
long,
time to
gotta
plow.
poo. And then later on, there's a scene where the movie star guy is in a car with someone, and Limp Bizkit's on the radio, and he's like, "You like Limp Bizkit?" And the other person's like, "Yeah, they rock." So he cranks up the radio, and there's like a 20-second scene of them rocking out to this Limp Bizkit song.
Thumbs down.
We should do it.
Yeah, we should watch that. We should also watch, I don't know if you remember this, there was a movie with Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig that aired on the Lifetime
movie. And it was something that they did as a joke, but the joke was that we're taking this 100% seriously.
It was so bad.
Right, but that was the point.
Yeah, so bad. Very funny, though.
That's funny. Isn't it like about an adoption? They like adopt someone and...
Yeah, and like the kid like dies, like drowned or something.
That's funny. We should do that. We should do a series on bad movies. That'd be fun.
Yes, we should.
But that'll be the worst book Jeff will read cover to cover. And Annie is like kind of, how do we want to frame this? You know, because she's like, "I'm a terrible friend. I accused you of being a lying cheat." What do you think's going through her head really here?
She's doing a full like mastermind here. She's hitting him with the Kaiser Soze, which she was accused of last time.
Cartoon eyes. Mm-hmm. But and one of my favorite details about this episode is Jeff goes a different direction here. He's in on the he's like following the thread of the conspiracy that's been laid in front of him here. And not only is he like concerned about it and wants to figure it out, he has this like childish glee about it here.
Yeah.
When he starts talking about it. And the way the camera zooms in on his face is really great. Joel sells the moment really well. And there is no Professor Professorson. I made him up, which, of course, completely, gives weight to what Annie's trying to do here. It's like hook, line, and sinker right here. But Jeff's like, "I made him up. It was a phony teacher for a free credit. And it worked." Annie slaps him. But then who is that guy? Which is great because Annie knows exactly who that guy is and exactly what's happening. But I love Jeff here.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Wait,
I don't know.
He's so gleeful and childlike and excited about whatever's happening. It's maybe the most excited he's been in his entire tenure at Greendale, you know?
Yeah.
Finally something interesting is happening.
Something exciting, yeah.
Now we're in the hallway, and Annie and Jeff are just standing kind of like, what conspiracy are we in the middle of, you know? Like, what's going on in this school? What's happening? And they talk about going to grab some lunch. And in this episode, we get the first reference to Fat Neil.
Fat Neil.
I don't like those jokes, really, about him, but I love the character that comes out of it, so that's good.
Yeah.
But this, like, 10 minutes to grab the last lima bean joke, that's unfortunate.
Well... Also, it's just a weird thing to say. I don't know. Got to get the
he
last
wouldn't be going
lima
for the
bean.
lima beans. There'd be plenty of lima beans.
Yeah.
The mac and cheese is gone. The chicken fingers are gone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a weird line. But so Annie is they're recapping what's happened. You know, you've made up a professor who isn't real, and he turns out to be real, and you're just willing to let it go because, of course, Jeff doesn't really want to follow this thread too much, but Annie needs him to for her lesson that she's planned to work out.
Yeah.
Jeff has a nice line here about, "I'm a god. I've denied the science for far too long." And we also get a pretty classic Annie moment here where she talks about how, you know, she wishes she could kind of let things go and take things a little more loosely the way Jeff can. And she's kind of doing it in a way to like be against Jeff for doing it, though.
Yeah.
You know, where she's like, I'll blow everything off. I'll just stop walking.
I thought this was really funny. This was almost one of my favorite moments.
Oh, sure. Oh, I'll just blow it off. I'll just blow everything off. Heck, I guess I'll just blow off walking.
Okay.
Or now I'll just blow off standing. I'm just blowing everything off. Maybe I'll blow off talking language.
Okay.
Blee, blee, blah, 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 blee, blah, blah, blah.
I like the guy who like steps over her. And like, dude, could you stop? It's pretty silly. And it's also like Annie's nuts.
Yeah,
She's crazy.
she is.
And that's probably why Jeff is so into her a little bit, you know? There's always that, like, I don't know.
Like a little bit of
That's
it.
a pretty common trope. We were talking about Scott Pilgrim a little bit earlier. That's
Yeah.
definitely a trope. She's just speaking gibberish, crawling around on the
Oh,
ground.
fourth floor mixer.
You know, the first time I saw Lil doing that, I was like, that's the person for
That's
me.
the one.
Just scrounging around on the ground.
Yeah, the mixer is on the fourth floor.
Fourth floor. Join us. Nice. We get a second long delayed appearance from the absolute legend Pavel in this episode.
Gotta love it.
That made me so happy, and he's got such this bright, positive energy in this episode.
He's walking like the Leonardo
Hey bros, what's
DiCaprio
the
meme,
haps?
but like unironically.
Yeah. I love all the shots here where Troy and Abed poke their heads through the pillow fort. Pavel wants to come inside. Troy and Abed talk in their secret language that only Abed really knows to talk about if they should let him in or not.
Their secret language of Polish.
Was it Polish that they're speaking?
Yeah.
I didn't pick up that. I thought because Troy tries to speak it and gets some random words, I thought they had like a made-up language that they speak to each other. But I mean, is there any evidence to suggest that anyone actually speaks Polish? Are we really genuinely sure that that's a real language?
Well, as someone who lives in Chicago and works
Come
with
on.
ballroom dancers, I can tell you, they speak it. It's very it's a scary language. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Scary
kind of
language. I
aggressive.
like how you got quieter to say that, as if you shouldn't be saying it, but we're putting this on the internet so
Yeah.
people will hear it.
It doesn't usually sound very happy.
It's like, kind of like a German,
A little bit, but it's a little more like
less throaty.
yeah, because like if German's like "Hush, not," Polish is like hush 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 hush.
Dude, I think maybe you should quit while you're ahead, and I don't think you're ahead by much.
No.
So we're not the number 5 in either of those countries anymore, if we ever were. I
Hey,
think we
but if
used
you
to-
want us to be, subscribe to the Patreon.
If
we'll
you
be more
want us to
sensitive
be.
to your to your country.
We'll be more sensitive to your culture if you give us money on Patreon.
That's how it works.
Patreon.com/Can't Disappoint Podcast. Brought to you, of course, by, what was it?
Knock-off wall plugs.
Yeah.
Are you tired? Are you tired of not having electrical fires when the power goes out and back on? Knock off wall plugs.
So, Troy and Abed decide that Pavel can join them in the pillow fort, but it would be more exciting if he could contribute things. Troy says, how would you characterize the amount of blankets and pillows you have? And Pavel's response, a boatload. I get wicked cold, bros. Mad sleepy.
Mad sleepy.
Super funny. And this is when the pillow fort, the blanket fort, is going to start growing and taking over more of the campus, which, man, what a fun visual that is throughout the rest of the episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we're to a scene that leads to one of my favorite moments, and I'm sure all of the Jeff-Annie shippers really love this scene. Jeff
Yeah.
and Annie are alone in a blinds-closed study room to talk about... Well, Annie has all the blinds closed, I'm sure, to talk about this conspiracy. She's trying to... Man, there's so many layers to this. She's trying to make Jeff think that she's fallen deep into this conspiracy, so she's kept all the blinds closed so no one can see in, and Jeff just doesn't care about anything.
Yeah.
I can, in your 11th, I can do it myself text about moving the thing. It's because she needed Jeff in the room.
Yep.
So she said, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. I can do it myself. Come on, come help me.
Please. Please.
She works too hard even at passive aggression. And Annie is just, man, these are the reasons why maybe I don't like Annie so much, but I also got to give it to her because she's such a mastermind.
Yeah.
And she did put all this together, and there's so many layers to it. And the only person in this entire episode that's keeping it all together and afloat is Annie, which is impressive.
This whole like convoluted, layered thing
Yes.
is all from her messed up brain.
Yes. She brings up night school at Greendale, which Jeff just kind of writes off, and she explains how it's a conspiracy. She's made this fake class schedule, and she's looking at night school and finding more information about it. She says she got it from the administration desk, and she opens it up, and it's a picture of Professor Professorson with the name Lawrence Woolley. His favorite color is sky blue. His favorite food is salmon. And the courses that he teaches that we were asked is Introduction to Basics, which is funny, and Active Passivity.
That's fantastic.
His office is 4950, and he's an Aquarius. I'm an Aquarius.
I like that, on the left you've got the guy who teaches Pottery 101, 102, and then Intro to Architecture, and then you've got philosophy of native peoples, accounting, but above
learning,
but the right side you have indoor camping.
You got to know all the safety. There's a lot that goes into it.
It's fair.
So yes, now we're spinning the yarn more. There's a conspiracy. Professor Professorson's real name, in quotation marks, is Professor Woolley, and he actually does teach night school. So why did he pretend to be this Professor Professorson? Why is he going along with Jeff's thing? Why was he carrying falsified credentials? Do you know what this means?
Back into how deep Annie has this. He's the drama guy, right?
Yeah.
It didn't say anything about that in the faculty directory. Did she have a whole?
That's exactly what this. That's not his name as the drama professor. His name is Sean Garrity.
She's made an entire
at least a page with all these fake names with all. And yeah, she's crazy.
Next level. She's deep in it.
She is deep in it. And Jeff just was like, please, can this not be a thing, as he always is? But that's never how it goes, and he should know by now. Because there's a conspiracy here that has to be getting to the bottom of. A dark, fast conspiracy that may just go all the way to the top. Annie turns the key for her diorama, and nothing really happens. She says, something's wrong. My car won't start, which cues Jeff's phone to ring. And it's Community does this in a couple of episodes where someone gets the phone call with the masked voice of don't do what you're doing. And again, I know we just said it 1,000 times, but how deep Annie is in this, that she's got the dean in the other room or something.
Right.
And says, when I turn the key, call Jeff. So Jeff answers the phone, and the voice on the other line, which I imagine is either the dean or Garrity, I suppose, says, tell your little friend to stop snooping around night school. Otherwise, things might get explosive. And then we get a moment that's just chef's kiss when homage, community, and absurdity are all like that meme where they're all hand in hand for one thing.
Yeah, the big muscular
create this
arms,
perfect moment where... And we haven't mentioned yet how throughout this entire episode, Ludwig's score is incredible. The way that it transfers, some typical sounding Community music to a David Fincher film, to a really suspenseful, I don't know. It's of course it's so good because Ludwig is doing such good things now, but he was doing it then. He was just doing it for this comedy show, and that's really great.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Everything gets slow. Jeff runs and lunges towards Annie to push her out of the way. And Annie, even to go deep into what she's thinking, I feel like Annie's like, oh yeah, grab me and push me down.
Yep.
And
at least a little.
The funniest, most anticlimactic, tiniest, not even firecracker ass. It's like one of those little popper things that you throw down on the ground.
Yeah, literally.
Little tiny spark comes from the car. Nothing happens. No one was going to get hurt. And to think about that even deeper, that's so Annie that she's like, okay, I'm going to make this conspiracy. They're going to call me. The diorama that I've worked so hard on is going to explode. She built this diorama so it could explode, but she's not going to let it do more than just a couple sparks because she doesn't want to risk anything going too wrong. That's pretty funny, and it's super Annie.
This scene's just hilarious.
That last slow motion with the skeletons behind it as it explodes, I think is a very, very funny moment. So Community. It's one of the most memorable parts of the episode. It's great. I love it. And then we get one of those moments that everybody's gifing, everybody is writing fanfics about what happened in their mind when this was going on. I mean, it's undeniable that there's. You can't say that there's nothing here.
Yeah.
They fall
there's
into each other
chemistry.
like that. They both linger. I think it's kind of similar to, it's not quite out yet, but we recently spoke to Alex on 6 Seasons in a podcast, which was great, and I'm excited for that to come out, about how the Ass Crack Bandit thing, I was never that invested in who it really was, because I feel like if the show wanted me to be, it would have done more with it. And that's exactly how I feel about moments like this. I think they put these things here because there are people who really want stuff to happen between the characters. But the show is not that interested in it, so we don't see it that often, which is why I don't care that much about it.
Yeah. There's
Does that
just
make sense?
moments.
I feel like that's how it is.
Yeah, they
But
don't
this
really
moment
push it.
is a little heated. They fall on each other. Jeff's on top of her, which is a whole thing. If you dug deep into how sexual this is, they're speechless for a second. They look into each other's eyes for a second. I probably didn't need to tackle you, Jeff says. Annie says probably not, but you can tell that she's heated. And then we cut to them looking at the diorama. It literally lasts 2 or 3 seconds. What do you think?
Not much. Probably about that. It is what it is. I think there's definitely like heat between them, but not enough that it would supersede this conspiracy theory.
I see more heat than that between you and I on a Zoom call every week.
Yeah, there's more heat in the spark underneath the toy car than on the floor next to it. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
Thank you.
I do know what you mean. Looks like someone sent us a message, a tiny, thoroughly underwhelming message, which is very Greendale. And it's enough because now, Jeff does quite a few times in the series so far kind of come to Annie's rescue a little bit. Mm-hmm. And now because something's going on with Annie, he's willing to hop in on this and say, okay,
because
we're going to get this figured
Annie's
out. Yeah, you
life,
don't threaten Annie.
I guess.
Yeah, you don't threaten Annie. Jeff says, we're going to night school, we're figuring it out. Now we cut to the dorm building or whatever I assume this still is, and they've got a ton of people working on Troy and Abed's pillow fort. I probably saw near a dozen people that were just in that hall working on it.
And this is believable. I think that in a college dorm, if you do some shit like this, everybody is absolutely down.
Oh, I believe that too. I just don't believe that Greendale Community College would have dorms.
Not dorms this nice, especially.
Yeah.
See that hallway? There's a lounge.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And Leonard shows up with blankets that he's stolen from his son's house, which is such a bizarre and funny line. Having Leonard in these, airplanes and trucks?
In
or is
cars,
it just trucks?
yeah.
Cars on his pajamas is very sweet. Abed's got, fish?
Spaceships.
Oh, it's spaceships.
And UFOs.
Sure. They all look very sweet and wholesome in their pajamas. Leonard crawls underneath the pillow fort to get to work. And I like that because when we watched this episode, I was like, oh, is next week's episode Pillows and Blankets? So I looked ahead, and it wasn't. It's not till season 3, and I kind of thought I knew that. But it does feel like a setup to that in every way. From, because that episode's a lot about how there's a rift between Troy and Abed. And about how they have different sides of something and they're having a fight, and it's told through that documentary style. And here we get a moment where Troy says, do you think we're getting too big? Do you think this is too much? And Abed says, as long as it's still made out of blankets, right? It feels like a stepping stone to that.
It's such a setup, right?
A year and a half early.
Because we know. It's great.
That is extremely Arrested Development.
Yeah, it is.
Of this show. And there's some other stuff that this episode does in its third act that is very Arrested Development as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Troy and Abed Troy's not quite as invested in the pillow blanket fort as Abed is, but he still wants to be doing something with his friends, so he still throws himself into it.
Yeah.
These will be perfect, he says, for the Pierce's Mom Memorial Tunnel. Jeff and Annie, it's nighttime at Greendale. It's night school, and nobody's there. The hallways are completely empty. So it really seems obviously that something's going on. It's probably not real. They open up a door, and they're looking for Professor Professorson or Wooly or whatever. The door that Jeff tries to open, Annie says, no, that's the class where apparently history of something is. And there's the funny turn of, you can't pronounce it? No, it's literally just called history of something. These all being things that Annie would have had to have come up with.
Yeah. Which
Jeff
good job
takes a
coming up
look
with
at
really Greendale classes.
Yeah, this is where we get that really great, you've got to pause the episode and read all the stuff that there is to see. History of something, learning with an exclamation point. Oh, but there is a continuity error. Annie just said history of something's taught by Professor Huyck. But here we see history of something is taught by Bradford. And Huyck teaches
Episode has gone
learning
to
with an
shit.
exclamation point. Yeah. Worst episode yet.
Yeah.
We've got
I like,
introduction to basics, principles of intermediate. We've got studyology, class
take that
101.
one.
Theoretical phys ed sounds like my kind of class. You put the Oculus on and you
There you
think
go.
about phys ed. Math 1, 2, 3. And you can't really see it's simplified Chinese and reading. Pretty funny. I love it. It's very
Nominal
community-
assertions.
I bet the community team loved when they were like, hey, props department, we need you to make a fake night school sheet of classes that aren't real classes that sound fake, and they just run with it. I bet that'd be such a fun job.
Absolutely.
And also hectic, when they're bringing the scripts in on the day that they're filming, and they're like, hey, we need 3 prop guns, we need all these people to be able to explode with blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I bet working on a TV show is incredibly stressful, but I also bet it's incredibly rewarding when you've got a show like this and this is what comes out at the end of it.
I'm sure. Because I think that's how you get some of these great performances, is because they have to act on instinct and don't have time to overthink it or like try
That's
too
true.
hard. They just have to go and do it.
That's funny because I don't know if it's happened yet or not, but there's a shot where Jeff gives like a forlorn look or something, and it's before the third act when everything's figured out, and it was filmed before they exactly knew how everything was going to get figured out, and Jeff gives a look, and the commentary, I think, I forget who it was, it might have been the director, or it was Chris McKenna, the writer, not Megan Gaines, who was talking about how that was a moment where Jeff was starting to put together that Annie was behind this, that Jeff's starting to put it together. And Joel in the commentary said, no, what that really is a face of me trying to remember the next line of dialogue.
He did the Joey Tribbiani.
Is that what Joey does?
In Friends, there's the whole
the
bit
pause.
where he has
Yeah.
like the face.
Joel
then-
McHale's literal acting technique.
Oh my God.
So they see Professor Woolley, Professor Professorson, whoever at this point. And it's this really nice moment where he's supposed to act as if he's been caught, but obviously this was all pre-planned, that they were going to show up in the hallway. They say, hello, Professor Professorson, and they ask him what he's doing. They call him out on his other name, and he says that he's teaching math, but he's being really weird when they say what kind of math. He's like, math? But he says it's okay if they sit in, and everyone come right this way. As they're all walking down the hallway, he stops to take a sip from the water fountain, and he bolts. He runs away very, very quickly from them. And this is all stuff that Annie's planned out and told the theater guy to do. And he runs and leads them to like his... I like when he's talking about math, and he like shakes his hands. He's like, oh,
Numbers.
playing a piano sign. He's like,
Pi.
numbers, pi. It's very funny. But
New math.
he's leading them to the room where they've set up the fake night school computers and stuff. So all of this is so planned that not only does he need to bolt, he needs to bolt and lead them to where the next thing needs to happen. It's insane. Annie is crazy.
It's great.
She's nuts. And it makes you like her more, doesn't it? When it makes me like her a little bit less. Does it get you just a little bit tingly?
About as tingly as the sparks underneath that red car, Zach.
Not more tingly than that?
Just a little pop.
Okay.
Pop, pop. But a slow-mo pop.
So yeah, he leads them to the room where all the computers and stuff are. Jeff and Annie are chasing after him. And oh wait, no, never mind. I totally misspoke.
Yeah.
Because before they get to that room, of course that is where he's leading them. But they have a beautiful chase scene through the pillow fort where we really get to show off I'm sure the way that they built this pillow blanket fort on the set was simplified compared to how it appears on screen, how much how expansive it seems. But through this through this chase scene, we get to see all of the different like wings of it and how expansive it is and how many tunnels it
different
has.
Neighborhoods.
Yes. They chase after him. They're all crawling through the fort. And what all do they run into? There's people playing games. There's all kinds of different pillows. There's signs. There's a one-way sign. And they even bring up Fluffy Town. Welcome to Fluffy Town. No smoking, no farting, no pillow fighting. That's what they call it's Fluffy Town and Blankets. Fluffy Town.
Pillowsburg? Or is it
Pillowsburg or Blanketsburg?
One of the two.
I think Fluffy is pillows.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Blanketsburg. Yeah. And we've already set up stuff like that for next season. And they're like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. They're like, we're in a chase. Oh, that's allowed. And it keeps going. It's a really beautiful way for the storylines to merge, kind of. It's still like they're doing their thing and it's still happening while they're doing their thing and it's still happening. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's allowed. There he is. They chase after Professor Professorson, and Troy and Ovid get in on it too. But Troy says afterwards, you should really check out our Civil Rights Museum. I like how this thin tunnel that they're crawling through has a no U-turn sign. So it's like you can't go the opposite direction or you can't use this to turn around. The flow of traffic is this way. There's bureaucracy and government and rules to this pillow and blanket fort, which is probably why Troy thinks a little bit that, I just wanted this to be a blanket fort with my friend, and now it's got a code of ethics. Leonard's here. He shouldn't be because of his 3 farting strikes. But there's no time to worry about that because Professor Professorson's getting away. They go through a beaded window, which leads to
the Turkish district.
Opium den.
Yeah.
Where Britta is being pampered. There are people with masquerade masks. There's this guy in this weird zebra print. It is very Eyes Wide Shut, and Britta's just like the focus of this sexual deviancy room. They're all popping like, Britta? She's like, hey guys.
She's like drinking.
But there's no time.
Manhattan
They've got to go find the guy. They keep crawling, and Garrity is getting away because of the Latvian Independence Parade. I love the way the woman who we see first is like shaking her thing, taking as little time as possible to take each step. Troy's like, don't be mad at me. They all had the proper permits, which is funny as well. The government behind this pillow and blanket fort is so funny. It's so Troy and Abed, and it's so community.
Also, what a random community thing to put in. Like, okay, we know this is going to air on Latvian Independence Day. Annie
in this moment is still like running through her stuff because she says something about how she sent the diorama to a forensics lab to have the explosion tested. Girl, she crazy. What is this instrument? Isn't that him playing the Trajexnes?
I don't know.
And look at him. What is it? It looks like a bunch big of bells bell. It looks weird. But
it's like a lot of
Jeff
little,
tackles him
like
and they
brass
got him.
Plates that smack together.
Yeah. It's time to tell everything. And the Professorson, whatever you want to call him, he just does like this evil theater man cackle and says, I'll show you. And then he takes them to the computer room where everything is. And it's revealed that night school isn't night school at all. And this is so Annie to teach Jeff the lesson to not do this. That Professor Professorson, Professor Woolley, whatever, is a guy just like Jeff who started out by making up one fake class for one fake credit to the point where he had to hide in the school, continue here however long he did, and he had to make up a whole night school, all these students, all these teachers, all these classes, just because of how into his lie he got. It's got like mom written all over it. Like, you know, if you start a lie, you'll have to just live up to the lie, and the lies grow, and the lies get worse, and then your whole life is a lie.
Or it's like, and they do this in a lot of stuff. Most recently, I was watching an episode of Freaks and Geeks, and
good choice,
right? Good show. And the guidance counselor catches James Franco and Seth Rogen smoking weed, so he brings in like a former student who's a real like druggy burnout, like out of his mind, just to show them the path that they're going down if they keep on smoking weed. It's hilarious. Also, watch Freaks and Geeks.
I know it was really hard. Yeah, watch Freaks and Geeks. It just recently got added to a streaming service with its entire original soundtrack intact. That's one of those shows like Scrubs and That 70s Show, where streamers have the rights to the show, but not always to the songs used within the show. And in a show like Freaks and Geeks that's set in the 70s, is the music's so integral to the show.
Yeah,
and the types of songs are really inform like the characters.
Well, I mean, one of my favorite things is in the first episode, they play the entirety of Come Sail Away. And it's great.
Or something. And I'm sure when streamers had the rights to it, some of the most important songs were there. Like, I can't help but think of the scene where Jason Segel's character has a crush on Lindsay and sings Lady, which I believe is also by Styx to her. I'm sure stuff like that's still there. But yeah, it's not the full picture until you have the full soundtrack, much like that 70s show and Scrubs. And it's cool that a streamer got it with the original soundtrack.
If any anime people are interested in that sort of thing, Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is one of the most expensive things Netflix has bought, I believe, even with that, they couldn't get the rights to all 26 versions of Fly Me to the Moon they play in the end credits, so they just play one of the score songs at the end of each episode.
Like Frank Sinatra, Fly Me to the Moon.
They re-recorded it like several times. There's a couple
but that song I'm sure is very, very expensive.
And so especially the versions that they have for the show, you can only find in like deep corners of YouTube that are called weird things so that they don't get taken down.
Yeah.
They're cool though.
So I just think this is and this is kind of when the episode starts going into that Arrested Development kind of phase of the episode.
Yeah.
And the Russo brothers, who worked very closely on Community for the first 3 seasons, worked very closely on Arrested Development during its first 3 seasons. And the Russo brothers came to people and were like, we're worried this might be too close to in Arrested Development, how J. Walter Weatherman, the one-armed man, is constantly doing things to teach the Bluths a lesson from when they were kids to when they're adults.
Felt like that.
Especially as it gets close to the end and the police officer is involved. It reminds very much of the episode where Michael suspects that George Michael has been buying weed. So he gets the hot cops with Joe, and he gets J. Walter Weatherman to teach his son a lesson. I think it's different enough, and because it's based in the conspiracy theories, I don't look at it as a copy at all. If anything, it just feels like some cool synergy between one of my favorite shows and one of my other favorite shows. But it couldn't help but make me think about Arrested Development and make me kind of want to watch Arrested Development.
Yeah.
But I could see anything referenced from Arrested Development and be like, I want to watch Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And this is when Wooly, along with giving away all the information about night school, he starts saying a bunch of like flowery, theatrical kind of stuff while he's saying this too. He's not exactly making sense when he talks. It's a really smart way to get Jeff to start understanding that something's got to be going on here a little bit. And I think Annie, even in a couple shots, has this face towards him of like, you're saying too much, man. Like, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Just say the stuff about the school and then move on. I love the way that he says etc. wrong. It's very, very funny. He says, did you just mispronounce etc.? My Latin class was fake, Jeff, like my life. It's just such this like ghost of Christmas future, like you will become this, Jeff Winger.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy of Annie, and it's so in tune of the Dean to be like, okay, I'll do it. I don't want to team up against Jeff, but if you throw in a couple things from my book, maybe we can do this.
Right. Well, and also, we haven't seen the Dean in a little bit in this episode. He's been, waiting in the wings to come back.
That's true. I had this feeling that he was so present throughout the episode, but it's really the beginning and then very, very much the end.
In this room is regret.
The only thing ever learned in this room is regret, Wooly, Professorson, Garrity says, and that could be said the same about this virtual dreamatorium that we record this podcast in. Nothing has ever been felt here but regret.
It's true.
And just a little bit of spark.
It's just just enough.
Do we have more spark than that car?
Oh, for sure.
How much
we
spark?
Could at least we could start a
Could we set the whole diorama on fire?
Yeah.
So this is the line that gives away to Jeff what's happening, because he starts saying, would that this desk were a time desk. Time desk. Time desk, The Chronicles of Dean Dangerous. It's the Dean's book. But Garrity's speech here at first is really funny. So I could correct my past mistakes, ride dinosaurs, fight with Jack the Ripper. What weird things to want to accomplish if you could go back in time that feels very much like a theater guy trying to improvise, trying to come up with stuff to say, and that was the first thing that came to mind. Jeff totally buys it. He calls it up, and Annie's eyes go all over the place because she is starting to lose her grip on this situation. She had it so tight, and now it's starting to go away. And Jeff just calls out time desk, these flowery words that you're using. All of this garbage reminds of someone. And then he looks at Annie. Do you think that Jeff here questions Annie's?
I think he knows at this point.
You think he knows that Annie's a part of it?
I think he does, because
he wouldn't expect the Dean to be able to do all of this.
Exactly, and that's when I think he figured it out a little bit before this.
What do you think the moment is? Because this is the first moment when it's like definite. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's over now. He might have had a hunch before this.
Well, because doesn't Jeff already have the pamphlet that says that he's the teacher with him?
Oh, is that true? There's another layer. So Jeff knew the whole time.
Jeff knew
and that's
a lot
why
earlier.
Jeff is also using the dean in the end, and why. Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is all a stretch. This is
It's
all a
such
stretch.
a parfait of an episode.
That's
Layers.
a way to put it. That sure is a way to put it. Everything this guy says is stripped from the sure-to-be unpublished pages of Being Dangerous. Joel is on fire this episode.
He really is killing it.
He's not my MVP, but he would be a really good one because he, both with like the childlike glee earlier and the, I don't know, and then here when he's really putting it together and despite himself can't help but fall deep into it and start adding on to the conspiracies that are stacking on top of
We
each
don't
other.
know who each other's MVPs are.
But I think we do.
Well, because Zach, you told me this was your easiest one, and I was very certain of mine. But I think that you could make some arguments for.
I could say for sure that you could make some arguments, and that's
Yeah.
why I brought up Jeff. I think he's one of them. There are a couple others maybe I'll mention when we get to the end.
Yeah.
But it was a very easy decision for me. Mm-hmm. It was very, very easy. The professor tries to play it off, tries to act like he doesn't know, but it's done. It's over. Jeff knows. And yes, you're right. He has the poster. He gives away that, no, this is his drama professor, Sean Garrity. And Annie wasn't expecting this because you can see that she's got her mouth wide open in the back. And the professor wasn't expecting this either. And really, most community college theater professors couldn't have done as good of a job as Sean Garrity did when being handed this really ridiculous scenario to come be a part of. So he did the best he could.
Hats
It's
off.
not his fault that this failed. And I like that then he just changes. His demeanor changes. He takes a deep breath. He takes off his glasses. And he's like, oh, thank God, that was awful. I hated doing that. And I love the word of advice. If you ever scrape the dean's car, don't tell him you'll pay him back with acting. That made me just totally feel like I can see the scenario that he... At first I thought scrape his car, like scraping the ice off his car. But Lil said, no, he probably like sideswiped the dean's car and then got out of the car. And the dean's like, oh, what are you? Oh, my God, what is this? And Garrity's like, I can pay for this with acting. I will return the favor with my talent because he doesn't have any money.
Yeah, and he's
so
like,
he works at Greendale.
That could be interesting.
Yeah. And on Thanksgiving, he's going to crash the dean's family dinner.
This is great.
To accuse him of stealing his girlfriend, which
That's
is also
great.
really funny. And another one of those more ambiguous, not completely ambiguous lines about the dean's personal life. And I think it's the only time... There was only one other time where he mentioned his dad. Mm-hmm. And if I remember correctly, it was the STD fair, and he mentioned his dad calling penises a Jimmy Carter, I think.
Oh, I
Is that
vaguely
the line?
remember that
Is that
line.
what he called him? Yeah. And I remember talking about it then, that's the first time we've really heard any backstory about the dean. This is kind of another thing, I guess. And Annie says, I guess this did go all the way to the top. I'm calling the dean right now. Now she's thinking of how she can paint herself out of this picture.
Yeah.
When look at Jeff's face. You're right. Of course he knows that Annie's a part of it too. So Annie's trying to paint herself out of the situation. Obviously, Jeff knows what's going on and asks Garrity, does the theater department have any of those prop guns that fire blanks? He's starting to think about his next moves against the dean. So maybe he doesn't 100% expect
I think
Annie.
at this point, I think he thinks it's the dean. I think he knew. I think he suspected it was the dean. But I think when Annie reacted by saying, "I'm going to call the dean right now," I think that's when he finds out it's Annie or realizes.
So that's the moment. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Of course, we have guns. We did the Chicago Gangland Macbeth." Oh, fresh take. One time, I've been at the community theater that I used to do plays at all the time, did some weird things like that too. We did a production of Camelot, like the Lancelot, King Arthur musical, and it was a production of Camelot that was set within the JFK White House. And like King Arthur was JFK, and Queen Guinevere, his wife, was JFK's wife. And then Lancelot was like another man that his wife was like kind of on the side with. I don't know. It was one of those things that kind of worked, but also kind of didn't when it started
Jackie
being like wizards and
Onassis,
stuff.
how could you?
And then they also did Jesus Christ Superstar, but it was set inside like a restaurant. and Jesus and the disciples were all like the like waiters and staff at this restaurant. And most of the songs were sung in front of like old style, like lounge singer microphones at the front of the stage, like performances at the restaurant. Yeah, interesting. That's what this reminded me of, the Gangland Chicago Macbeth.
In terms of great takes on things, do you remember the West Side Story episode of Kids Next Door? I guess West Side Story / Star Wars episode?
Not at all.
Yeah, they do a play, and it's like, instead of like the Sharks and the Jets, it's like wearing jeans versus wearing leather. And it's like, we're wrestling where them, they wear jeans, we wear leather. We're wrestling where them, so why stick together? It was great.
I don't remember that at all. I liked Kids Next Door, but I didn't watch it regularly.
See, I've seen, I would guess, every episode that they made.
Andy's getting nervous about whatever Jeff's planning. But Jeff, he's planning against the dean and how he's going to teach him a lesson and tell him not to mess with him for stuff. To teach him that Jeff Winger never learns. But it's also totally on Annie. You're right. He's just not letting Annie in on it because his mind is going faster than that. There's a commercial break, and afterwards we get... Again, we're in the study room, and all the blinds are closed. Annie and Jeff are working on a plan together, and so does the dean. Garrity's there. All of the wheels are in motion for this big bombastic ending for this episode that we're gonna get, and I can't wait to just tackle it. Let's just do it.
Let's do it.
The dean is still, because my favorite thing about this part is how very real the emotions that the dean has, the emotions that he's going through. As there are reveals, as there are gunshots, the dean believes every single one just about, other than like the first one, and then he believes each one even more. Yeah. And it's really funny that on top of this obvious planned stuff going on between the three of the other ones, the dean is just lost in it. And it's so funny.
It's amazing.
So the dean says hi to Professor Professorson because in the storyline that they're all putting together, that's where the dean still is at this point. The last time we saw him was when they were in the hallway, and he's like, oh, I guess the audit's off. I'm sorry, Jeff. And Jeff explains that that this guy's doing the thing that he's doing with night school, and he's faking dozens of credits per year, and that something needs to happen, nearly twice as many dollars. The dean's like, oh, well, that's serious. But the dean, he says he's a big believer in second chances. Oh, but Annie isn't on the plan at this point. Annie says, I'm not. Takes out the gun. We've got the first shot. She shoots Garrity. This is maybe my favorite of the shots because look at the way it happens. There's like a shot, a delay, and then Garrity reacts, and it's very silly. Here we go.
Oh!
And the dean here is going, oh my God, you shot him. But he knows at this point that this was part of it, that Annie was going to do that. And then now Jeff's going to do it to the dean, or the dean's going to do it to Jeff, I think is what's about to happen. The dean, oh my God, you shot him. And Annie, of course I did. He was being dishonest. Now she's putting on her community theater stuff, you know. And if there's one thing Greendale's taught me, but she's interrupted by the dean shooting her really close. Yeah. And I love in these first two shots, it's so clear that nothing's happening because there's not a mark. Yeah. Nothing happens. It's just blanks, clearly. Pow. And Annie stumbles down to the ground. Jeff, what the hell? Acting really angry at the dean. She had a gun. It was a fake gun. We staged this to get back at you.
Oh, you're the deceiver.
And now the dean's acting all angry, and now Jeff shoots the dean. But this shot looks a little bit more real. You can see a hole in it. Jim Rash on the commentary said that they had his tie taped a certain way. You can kind of tell here. Yeah. So only the bottom of it moved, so you could see where the gunshot was. Nice. And he falls down to the ground with his mouth open and like his tongue sticking out.
So, you know, as we see, Annie kind of jumps up because she's like, oh, this wasn't part of the plan. Jeff just killed the dean. Yeah. But the way she like screams through this is so good. I think Alison Brie does a fantastic job of like her voice.
Jeff, what are you doing? Why do you have a real gun? Why did you shoot the dean?
Well, he shot you.
Not really.
And now Annie gives out everything because yes, you're right. She believes that this has just happened and says that he and she were in on this from the start. They put it all together. She put it all together to teach Jeff a lesson. And I love that shot when they're talking about it, and it cuts to the dean still playing dead. Like, look who has fallen. F in the chat for Dean Craig Pelton.
Pay respects.
They cooked up the whole thing to illustrate the slippery slope of academic fraud. And Jeff is teaching her a big old lesson, and he lets her know right here. All you taught was how to be a crappy friend. Holds the dean's hand and picks him up. And says once it was obvious the dean to put everything together, and the dean is like, present, thank you. And it was even more obvious, of course, like we've been discussing this whole episode, the dean was too stupid to orchestrate anything, so Annie had to have done it. And I love that after he insults him like that, the dean's like, yes. So on a hunch, he called him, they hatched a plan, and they put this together to teach Annie a lesson or two about friendship. And Annie says, I love you to Jeff here.
Yeah.
Are we soon to learn that I love you is... Well, she says the only reason I did it was because I love you.
Yeah.
Are we soon to learn that this I love you is not genuine?
Correct.
Does that also happen here?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm sure this is another moment where people are like...
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just another level
Well,
deeper.
and when she said that, the dean looks and Jeff just doesn't even acknowledge it. He's like, well, when you love someone... Yeah.
You have to take them as they are. People aren't playthings, Annie. And the dean's just happy to be involved, you know? He's just backing up whoever wants him to stand next to them. And he says, look who's talking after everything you put me through, and pulls out another gun on Jeff. The dean now knows nothing.
Yeah.
This is when the dean's freakouts begin, and they're so funny. He's so concerned. And Jim Rash plays it so beautifully, both from the comedic point and the point that he's playing a character that actually believes these things are happening. The look of shock on his face instantly is really, really good. Okay, Annie, where did you get that gun? This gun looks really real. Mm-hmm. There were only 3 prop guns. And Annie lives in a terrible neighborhood, so she's got this gun. Jeff is really selling it, of like trying to talk her down, trying to keep her from doing anything. And Annie gives this crazy garb about how after they kissed, she waited all summer for them to get together, and then nothing happened. And if no, like, she just sounds so crazy and says, you buried me like a shameful secret. But do you think she's also a little bit letting out some real emotion through this speech that she's put together? Because I believe that would be very Annie to, after their kiss at the end of season 1, that she goes home for the summer.
And it's like, I can't wait for Jeff to call me, and we're going to be...
I'm not transferring anymore, you know? I guess I'm going to be with Jeff now, and we're going to be like the hot couple on campus, and then they're not. Mm-hmm. And the dean is just, like, really trying to de-escalate. He's like, whoa, come on, guys. Afraid crazy Annie would go crazy for you, Annie says. Well, guess what? Stupidest line in the episode, Annie's got a gun. Annie's got a gun. Shoots Jeff. He falls down, and the dean is ballistic. The dean is just so heartbroken by this and asks Annie what she's done. You know, you just murdered this guy over all of these things we're building. And the dean's so confused and so stupid and so sweet. Annie says, why did you conspire with me against him? And the dean, this is such a perfect moment. It's like, I don't know. I can't keep track of any of it anymore. And the way he flails his body around, the way the veins are sticking out of his head. I just keep teaming up with whoever suggests it.
He just wants to be a part of something.
He does. Glad to hear you admit it. Jeff sits up, and then the dean's reaction when he really thought Jeff was dead, shot on the ground, and he jumps like he's seeing a ghost when he gets up.
Oh my
There's
God.
the double crossers and triple crossers and quadruple crossers have been double crossed. That was a lesson on the dean. Because when I called you to double-cross Annie, you didn't hesitate. Annie says, do you understand what a conspiracy is? And the dean's like, not really. Says, if you're conspiring with everyone, you're not really conspiring with anyone. You're just doing random crap. The dean is just a shambles of a man. I'm sorry. I just want to have fun with you guys. I go crazy. And I bet he does. You know, he sees the study group having these fun adventures, doing pillow forts and paintball games, and he just has to be the tight together man. He was just excited to be included for once. Is that so bad on him?
I know, and he got to be such an important part of everybody's, you know, what they wanted to do.
Like, I thought I was good. He goes crazy in that office, and I bet he does. I would too. But that's not what it's about at all. It's time travel's really hard to write
Okay,
about
do you
for his
think Dan
book.
Harmon had a hand in that line there? Because, you know, we know how he feels about time travel when it comes to Rick and Morty. I wasn't
That he
sure if
won't do it? Or, yeah, I mean, probably. They did do it, though, eventually, didn't they?
Kind of.
Yeah, I think it is definitely that. But it's also to tie it back to what the Dean's really been thinking about this entire episode is his book. Mm-hmm. It's a really funny line. The Dean just starts sobbing. And then Garrity, who has been committing to this for a long time now, finally gets up off the table and says, okay, if I'm keeping track right, we should be done. And he gets up to leave. I'll just take these guns back to the theater department.
He waited for everybody to
the lessons are learned. But then the next step happens, and there's a police officer outside. This is Officer Kikowski. We've seen him before. Previously, he was a security guard. I think when we see him more often in the future, he is a police officer.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a little bit confused at that distinction.
You know.
It says, police, drop the weapons. Everyone gets down to the ground. The Dean's just as scared as ever. Don't shoot, don't shoot. Please, they're fake. They think this is just another one of the lessons. Mm-hmm. And he shoots Garrity, and there's this huge blood explosion.
Yeah.
All this violence, it made me think of a story from the commentary that I didn't tell a little bit earlier. The car explosion.
Yeah.
When it does the fire crack. I guess this episode of Community was available on an airline for a while as in-flight entertainment, and they edited out the last slow motion explosion. The two pops are there, but they edited out the last one because they thought it would be too upsetting to people on a plane.
All right.
Isn't that silly?
Yeah.
So Garrity's really dead now, and he got up like it was over when he knew there was more coming, and he's
acting
dead on the ground, really looking dead. His acting's better. Now I think Jeff and Annie are really surprised by it, and they're on the ground crying. Someone died, and this is the very Arrested Development moment of it, where the cop's like, I guess it just goes to show you, prop guns belong backstage. It's very Arrested Development, how that in that episode, the lessons keep coming and they slowly get more off of what the point was in the first place.
Yeah.
And they just get harder to keep track of. That's absolutely what they're doing here. But like I said, it doesn't feel like a lesser version of what Arrested Development does so well. It feels like I love these shows, and I'm glad that they did episodes like this. And scene, it's over. The Dean, you've got to be kidding me. He's so upset, and Jim Rash plays this upset, literally going crazy, shaking in his sitting down. He goes so insane. It's so funny.
It's great.
Kikowski says, Professor Garrity told me everything you guys were up to, and prop guns create victims. 100% of all fake gun-related shootings. The victim is always the one with the fake gun. How does that make any sense? Does that make any sense?
Because if somebody with a fake gun gets shot, or if there's a shooting involving a fake gun, the one who got shot was always the one with the fake gun, not the real gun. Because they had a fake gun and they were like, hey, and then someone with the real gun was bang, and killed them. So I
see. Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Hey, Sean, you got breakfast plans? They're done. They leave. I do now. And then this is another one of my favorite lines. The show... It would be so hard as a writer's room, just like we talk about how, I really do believe that their writer's room of 12, 15 people would, with each line in the episode, be like, how can we make this the best it can, just about. Yeah. And same with the plot lines, which is why it was so hard for them to figure it out, to put an ending, because it couldn't just be any ending. It had to be a natural ending that ramps up the right way. Mm-hmm. And just like that, I bet it would be hard to decide how to end an episode like this.
Absolutely,
once they've reached
so
that
many,
height,
lines
how
that you're going.
I don't know, is it denouement? How do you say that word? After the climax of a story, there's action. It's like the story chart.
Yeah.
I've
seen it.
The beginning, there's upward trajectory, there's the climax, it goes down a little bit, then there's the denouement, which is the ending that's after the ending, kind of. It's the way that the episode transitions from that climax to the next part works really well and is pretty effortlessly with the breakfast plans. And the Dean asking Garrity if they're still on for Thanksgiving as he's just having a mental breakdown. And Garrity says, just talk to your father, Craig. And then we get the most classic line, which I've always known this hoodie wear a time hoodie is a classic Community line, but I always forget how it's tied to Garrity and how it's tied to the Dean's book. He's saying this because it's his book that he's written. Would that this hoodie were a time hoodie. It's so funny. It's so pathetic. And Jeff is already back on. So can I get that credit after all this work?
Have you finished those errands?
No. Damn it. He's holding to that. Meanwhile, we're wrapping up this episode rapidly. This is one of those things where that plot line ended, and now we're getting to the end of Troy and Abed's plot line. Yeah. And when watching the episode, it felt like it ended too soon. This was an episode that like 5 more minutes of it would have been great.
Yeah, it was a great
to watch
episode.
like the
really
downfall of the pillow blanket fort. You know, Troy says, oh no, now the whole study group's in there. And this is my fun fact about these burgers. All of a sudden, you know, Britta, Pierce, and Shirley are here as if they've been here the whole time. Also, how did Pierce get in there with his broken legs like
and I guess
that?
Pierce and Shirley are wearing like shirts for whatever the burger place they got.
Yes, there's a whole plot line from this episode that was cut that was really just the beginning of the episode and the end of the episode. That was that Pierce and Shirley were going off together to go to this place that has the best burgers, and it's really far away. Which is stupid and the worst type of just giving those characters something to do ass shit.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
That's why they're wearing these shirts and they're all eating burgers and they have the bag with the logo. It was going to be a whole thing.
That's
I like
funny.
that it still managed to find its way in the episode. Anyway.
Yeah. I think
The
it's
study
funnier
groups-
like this, not knowing anything.
Yeah,
It's like,
I
oh,
do too.
clearly
It's
something
like,
happened.
What are
but-
those shirts?
Yeah.
The study group is all gathered together in the blanket fort, and they're just talking about what's happened. And it's clear that there's no real ill will between Jeff and Annie. They kind of like, well, that was fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's over as soon as it's over. And they talk about going off script, and they have a cute moment. They're just bonding over what they did. Britta looks upset for some reason.
Yeah, she does not look thrilled
Well,
at
there
that.
you go. It's because Jeff and Britta are hooking up.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably doesn't like to see this.
Yep.
Pavel comes in to show that the Pillow Fort made the front page of the Greendale Gazette, which is really funny and probably would make the front page of the Greendale Gazette. And that means that they've gone mainstream. So they initiate Protocol Omega. They what's the initiate
Order 66?
Order 66.
Mm-hmm.
You get your kicks at Order 66.
Exactly.
Do you remember when the Cheetah Girls did a cover of Route 66?
Yikes, I do not.
I believe it was for the film Cars.
That was Rascal Flats.
Well, no, Rascal Flatts did cover that too. There is, I promise you, a Cheetah Girls version.
That's terrifying.
It's probably
Yikes.
better than Rascal Flatts.
Hey,
No.
I like Rascal Flats.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
I don't believe that
God
you've listened to a
bless
song
the
in
broken
English in the last 3
road.
months, especially a
Led
Rascal
me
Flatts one.
straight to you.
Yeah, I'll cut all that. But the pillow blanket thing has gone
Life is a
mainstream. So
highway.
they strap on their lights and they go to where they've set up a self-destruct over the pillow blanket fort. There are these tube socks that if they pull, everything comes crashing down. They initiate it and they do it, and we get this really fun shot of seeing from the outside the blanket fort crumble. We watch the whole
collapse.
thing kind of. We can see everywhere where it is. We see all the places crumble. We see the study group, getting ready for it to crumble as they're eating. And the way that it falls adds for one more Jeff and Annie moment where they are kind of trapped underneath a thing together. They're really close and alone all of a sudden. But again, it lasts like a second, like literally a second, and it's over. Troy and Abed get out of the fort. Everything's done. Leonard's already looting shit. They're having a riot now. And in the background, it says it here, but I remember hearing it too. A woman says, "Hey, that old crabby man just stole my TV." It's really funny. Leonard's just, "Baba Booey, Baba Booey."
Baba Booey.
And yeah, the thing is over, and they decide, "Hey, want to build a cardboard submarine?" And Troy says, "Get out of my brain."
I love it.
And that's how it ends for them. And that's how the episode ends. What an episode of Community.
Yeah.
Everything about this episode works.
Great episode.
And okay, so talking about like my overall episode rankings. When I first watched this episode and enjoyed it this much, right now as it sits is number 1, cooperative calligraphy, number 2, contemporary American poultry, number 3, conspiracy theories and interior design. But
Wow.
I do think in some ways I like things about this episode more than what I like about cooperative calligraphy, but I don't think it's at the top. I think I placed it where it goes.
Yeah.
It's a
I like
classic
it.
episode.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's
It's
below
not an
epidemiology
all-timer
for
for
me.
you?
No.
I think I like this one more than epidemiology.
Yeah, I like epidemiology more personally.
Well, let's talk about this in tag because all it is Choi and Abed are doing like a one-word story thing where they each go back and tell a word of the story. And Abed is better at it than Choi, or Choi is so simple that he just gets invested in the story that Abed is hearing.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it is. He's really into what Abed's saying. He just wants to keep like adding on.
And to everything until Abed tells a complete story, and then at the end says, we should write a screenplay together. And it kind of reminded me of us. I told Lily that it's totally possible that there were times where like, and not that you didn't contribute ideas all the time, but there were totally times when I would be Abed and you would be Troy. And I would be like, let's make a story, and it would have this and this and this. And you're like, yes,
sure,
let's do that.
It.
Yeah. It gave me some fuzzies of the times in college or the year after where we were coming up with ideas all the time.
Yeah, I imagine this is actually how it went with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck when they wrote...
Which one's which?
Matt Damon is Abed. Ben Affleck didn't do anything.
Well, we've done it. That's the end of the episode. It's a great episode of Community. I don't know if it would go on the Mount Rushmore, but I think if someone said this has to be on my Mount Rushmore of Community episodes, I would completely understand.
Yeah, I think this is definitely like...
It's a high point of the season that look at the high points we've had this season already. Like I go to things, of course, like Cooperative Calligraphy, but I think like Basic Rocket Science and even when Pierce's mom passed away, the Psychology of Letting Go, I really like. It's just been a killer season, and we're still at the rising action of the season. It's going to get so much better from here, and I'm excited to keep talking about it. I think this was a great episode to talk about.
I think so too. So good. Okay, Zach,
MVP.
You go first. Who's your MVP?
It's Dean Dangerous, no question. And I almost second guessed it when I realized how much of the middle chunk of the episode he's not there. But that last scene that is where the episode gets to where it's been building to the whole time. The Dean is the focal point for me as he's going through all these different emotions and how funny Jim Rash is. It's the Dean. Is it for you?
No.
Okay, then who is it?
Yeah, now I love the Dean. I think this is the best Dean episode so far. But like I said, I think it's also the best Annie episode. Annie got my MVP for this one. Yeah. Okay. And it's not even like simping on her. Like she's crazy, but I think that her performance, like Alison Brie's performance,
I get that. What they do with the character, even if it's stuff that I'm like, I wish she wouldn't do that. Annie's kind of crazy. It is really well thought out and really in character, and Alison Brie puts it off really well.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously Dean, I could very easily give it to him.
Also,
Jeff was deserving.
Garrity and Jeff could have both been MVPs as well.
Yeah, because they both gave. This is honestly one of the best Jeff performances too. I think he's just so on it because he's that like kind of he uses all of his like things that he has from being a lawyer that aren't the best qualities, but he uses them in the best way in this episode, and it's so great.
Yes. So yeah, we did it. This was a great episode of Community. I think what keeps it from being one of those really go-to episodes is that a large chunk of the study group is underused in this episode. That's why Cooperative Calligraphy, Contemporary American Poultry, and I get why you would put Epidemiology can go above because every character has a classic moment in all of those episodes, whereas here they could have done a little bit more work to fit Shirley, Pierce, and Britta more into the storyline. It doesn't really take away from the episode, but I think it's what keeps it from being an absolute go-to episode of Community. Just like episodes of It's Always Sunny where certain members of the gang aren't in it. You've got to have everybody. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's the show. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, great episode.
Let's talk about the things ahead. You know, pretty much now it's just come hang out with us on Patreon. Patreon.com/Can'tDisappointPodcast. Every Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, we're live there for You Can't Diss a Pre-Show, and that's the only place you can get it, and it's the only place where you can go back and see the ones that you missed. So as little as $5 a month, you can get all that. A new episode of Nerdstalgia should be coming out next week. The first one's there already. New stuff coming all the time. Thanks again. I'll give 2 shout-outs since it's the first time to Mary and to Danny and to Justin for being our patrons. We'd love to add you to that list. Go become a patron. Next week, let me very quickly look up what next week's episode is.
Next week is, it's a mixology.
Oh, great. Next week is another classic one, mixology certification next week.
Because it's mixology, then Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas, and then I can't remember what the next one is. Then after that is Dungeons & Dragons, I think.
Yeah, wow. It's going to be
such
really
a great
fun couple
run
of weeks.
episodes.
Stay on board with us. Write in your trivia for mixology certification to can'tdisappointpodcast@gmail.com. Also, tell us your episode MVP if you've got one. Tell us your favorite funny moment. And where can people find us on the interwebs?
Oh, they can get at us on Twitter at You Can't Diss a Pod.
Okay.
We're on Instagram under the name You Can't Diss a Pod. Just kidding.
Can't Disappoint Podcast.
Yeah, Instagram we are Can't Disappoint Podcast. Facebook under our regular name. YouTube, same thing. You Can't Disappoint a Podcast. Check us out on all those places every week. All of them, not just one. All of them, please. And we'll know if it's you and you do it, and we'll love you. So we'll especially know if you join our Patreon and tell us that you did that.
A world to us, and we're doing a lot of stuff over there, so get on board. You know, I'm ending this episode feeling real positive. I don't feel like hating on you at all. I love doing this show. I'm really thankful to all the people that listen to us and facilitate us doing this. It's awesome. So thanks for everything. Thank you, Steven. What do you have to say for the people?
Thanks guys for watching. It was really, really cool to do that live stream this week.
Nobody's watching.
And no, I watched the YouTube. Thank you everyone for watching, listening, and you know, coming into the Dreamatorium with us every week. And it's like we, you know, in this world where we don't get as much human interaction as maybe we did 2 years ago at this time. It's really nice to feel like we're all together, holding hands. So thanks for dropping by and inviting us into your world for a couple hours. Hey yo.
It's been a lot of fun. We'll see you guys next week with Mixology Certification, and be good.
Yeah.
From inside the Dreamatorium, Black Lives Matter, and we'll see you in learning.
Bye guys. I'm a little late for reading.
I'm Zach.
I'm Steven.
And go f*** yourself.